Oh, sorry.
Aren't magnets just magic?
Yes.
Effectively.
Nobody knows how those things work.
Nautilus ban here right away for its delight. They love their Nautilus Misfortune lanes, and Nautilus a little bit stronger on this patch. The Bard, of course, will be banned away from T1. That was the one thing that we didn't really agree with on the mock draft that we had earlier. Of course, that was the bans that were previously in their series. But I don't think Keria gets his hands on it, not only in this first game, but in this series. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, some conversations I've had, even though the meta hasn't completely shifted because the melee support changes, not enough to really upheave things. It has pushed Nautilus higher prio because he was already being played into some of these good matchups. He got a bit of a helping hand. Cassiopeia ban does come through. A pick that's been very successful in the LCK, been failing horribly in the LPL, funnily enough, but still seeing that ban priority here. Rumble and Karma, two of the big picks that are open available. T1, we knew they wanted to prioritize that bot lane 2v2. They will instantly slam down that Karma for Keria. I feel like for HLE, there's the danger of playing into Ezreal Karma. If you leave the Ezreal available, they're going to prioritize the Jace, though, for Zeus, and not even give a look in towards the Ezreal. Jace Rise come in, solo lane priority, and T1 have plenty of choice in terms of AD carry pairings with this Karma.
I'm most curious to see also, I mean, they could just go for Karma Ezreal, the really common one, which I think they're going to do. But will they just give Doran the keys to the Yorick counter pick here in the top lane right away? Or do they want to prioritize jungle here, and we'll have a bit of a split? Because this is quite common when one team goes for the bottom duo, the other team locks up strong blind solo lane. So that's the split that we do have here now. The question is, does a counter pick come through here? Or with all these jungle picks open, the Jarvan, the Xin, is that where owner's priority is going to go? Is he going to get his hands on the Zins out here in game one? They do need engage so far in this comp. That's what they're sorely missing.
Yeah, especially playing these mobile solo laners of the Jace's long-range poke. I think having engage would go a long way. Xin Zhao sinks well the shields, but Jarvan, especially when they can't go Ezreal, has that lockdown, that Cataclysm, a lot of value. They go for the Sion instead, prioritizing that into the Jace, a pick that Doran's had a lot of success on. I felt like there was maybe an angle to leave it because there's Sion, Yorick, and Cassante as answers, but they prioritize him having that matchup now. Of HLE, do they just take a jungle in this situation? You can't pair up your bot lane, so it can be tricky, but instead looking towards the Ziggs for Gumayusi here.
Wow. I mean, just last year, this was a pick that we weren't ready to trust Guma to be able to play to a high level, compared to our best Ziggs, but he has really turned it around. It's one of his better picks, actually. And they're just going to lock it in right away to be able to have some sort of oomph in this bottom 2v2. I like the choice. I like the boldness of it. There's so much poke, but also consistent damage with the Rise pick in mid.
Yeah, definitely a composition for HD that wants to play at longer range. We often see the Ziggs paired with setup. So things like Ziggs Pike have been popular into enchanters for that kill pressure. Expect to see T1 banning away some of those options. It is going to be a lane, though, where you are going to get pushed in heavily. Ziggs needs mana items and some points in his queue, but we can really match the pressure, especially level 1 from Ezreal Karma. And for T1, secure and engage is such a big thing here. So the Nocturne going to be banned away. Actually, it's T1 not going for support bans, but taking away the Vi, which we know Kanavi's been very successful on. But taking that away from him is something that can set up the Ziggs or even the Jace to follow up with that poke onto a target who's held in place.
I do think these jungle bans, particularly for both of these players, make a ton of sense. The base already went heavily on the Kanavi's vibe, but the Owner Nocturne was also mentioned. So those are the two big ones, but now we could see some indexing into support for T1 in this final ban, as the Lee Sin for Owner will also be taken away. Not necessarily a consistent form of engage, but a pick that gets a lot of backline access against this range, so it could be a great answer there. You know, Pike, you mentioned, we've seen often Leona with the Ziggs in the past, maybe not on this patch, but it is a little bit better than it used to be. We'll see what they do decide to opt in for taking away from Keria. Banning against Keria is always tough, because he's always got something else that, you know, is in his wheelhouse, so they ultimately do decide to take away Kanavi's Nefiri.
They just fully commit to the jungle bans in this situation, and Kanavi could snap something up here if he really wants. He's going to go for that Jarvan, even though it's into the Ezreal.
And also, there's the Trundle angle potentially in this draft. You know, it's not amazing with what they have in terms of engage and setup, but they are playing into a Sion. Opting, though, for this Jarvan.
I think this works well as a denial, even though obviously into the Ezreal doesn't feel fantastic, but they end up pivoting and instead go for the Camille. So Camille support in this situation. Pairs well with the Ziggs. You put the ults on top of each other, effective there. And I think it's tricky to do this, but level 1 with Ignite, you can actually challenge. If you land the stun, you Ignite, use Hail of Blades, you can challenge some matchups, but I don't think they'll probably look for it here. We'll just be pressured out.
Yeah, Nivea is such a tricky pick with this draft. It's the one I think we all expected to see when it wasn't banned away, when we saw the indexing towards jungle instead, because it's a common counter pick to the Ryze. But the laning phase can be tricky to pilot, and it's not consistent engage. You have to wall incredibly well. You can set up the Scion with the wall, you can set up the Ezreal if you can cut the team in half, but it is a very hard draft to play Anivia. So Faker, a lot of confidence with this pick to come through, and we'll see what Owner's pick is here ultimately. Might just end up being the Xin. Take the Jarvan.
Yeah.
This has been a weaker pick for him compared to Kanavi especially. He's actually 2 and 3 on it. A pick that he shies away from compared to other junglers.
I think the engage was the important thing here, securing something that can close the distance, especially when you have that Anivia, who's obviously very good at playing defensive. When you're playing into the likes of a Ryze and a Jace, and the enemy team has that long-range poke they can set up for, I think having that engage is important. The Trundle's going to have a good amount of value here, though, playing into that Scion in particular. I feel like for T1, a lot of power in that bot lane 2v2. We know they're going to play through bot. They've been doing that all season long, and they have the tools to do so. But when it gets to those team fights, they have that one... They have the top jungle who can find engage options, but they have a lot of poke to be dealing with on the other side, and Trundle can make things really difficult for a Scion to operate in those 5v5s.
I like the draft of T1 a little bit more because I think it offers a lot of frontline for that poke. It has a clear identity in terms of its zoning because it also has a decent amount of range, right? It has the Ezreal there, and it is very powerful into the Trundle. The Trundle is great into Scion, can set up some of that poke, right, with the pillar. But when the Trundle gets caught, he doesn't have any mobility. He gets walled by the Anivia. He's just a sitting duck a lot of the time. So you really need to be landing that poke before the fight breaks out. Otherwise, getting those objectives, I think, is so hard here for HLE.
I think it's also going to be so important that Jace is really far ahead, because if Jace falls behind, we've seen that happen sometimes, not as much with Zayas, but in general, if this Scion gets strong, he can just stand there and soak all of the poke up. You need the Jace to be ahead of the curve and to be relevant in this game, or it is just going to be T1's to take.
Well, I feel like in terms of drafts so far, it's pretty straightforward here in game number 1 as we head into our first one for this best of 5. Alrighty, game number 1. This best of 5 determines our first seed into MSI. Here at the road to MSI, as Faker's already getting it going here at level 1, as he oftentimes does on the Anivia. Has been a key pick for him, I feel like, especially towards the tail end of, well, I guess for all of round 2, I suppose. He has been fantastic on this pick, and I do like it as a comfort pick, especially into the Ryze early on for Faker.
You see Zeka getting down a ward onto Owner's Raptors, very wary of the potential early gank that can come through. We've seen some of those from Jarvan just immediately beelining towards mid, especially with an Anivia in combo, very easy to set that up. Some good dodges there from Gumiishi and Delight.
Faker often uses his egg as a resource. We talk about this a lot. We call it the Faker egg. In the laning phase here, we'll just go straight down to it. Huge cheer comes through, though, because Zeka ends up getting a majority of his health bar in post.
Yeah, he's getting pretty low. I mean, Zeka, at the end of the day, though, is not going to be able to finish him off, and that's really what you're looking for, but he has Flash.
He hits level 3. I think he could just flash on him, honestly.
Yeah. Baker's going to have to be careful about that.
Baker does have teleport, and okay,
a gank down on the bottom side as there is Peas with the Arcane Shift away, but now the flash forward with the satchel means that Peas has to flash out, and he lives! Even though Kanavi tries to flash, and for the kill, it is not enough.
They commit so heavily, so many resources put into that play, but I love the positioning from T1 in the lane. And they had Carrier playing so far back, the Ezreal up forward, so the Arcane Shift and the Flash is just enough to get him out of range, to get him to safety. 2 flashes burned by HLE and that Ignite, so even though Pays loses his summoners, He's still in Ezreal. He still has the Arcane Shift. He's going to be okay.
Yeah, no, he doesn't die, but the damage is still done. Obviously, the Ziggs is going to be able to teleport straight back to the lane. They ended up getting some extra damage done here. Some farm was denied for FaZe. He's a wave behind right now, so still mission successful, but had they gotten the kill, it would have felt so much stronger. Even though they committed double flash, I think this is something that HLE will not feel too bad about. Faker also recovers from losing his egg because he has TP, gets straight back to the lane. Early game is even. Here we have Owner rotating around.
Yeah, we're roaming down here. Guma in a rough spot as the Satchel's already down. He is just a sitting duck as Delight is not able to interrupt Owner getting in there. This should be first blood. The question is, who does it go to? They hand it over to FaZe as he starts off strong on the Ezreal.
And it's just perfect timing for a gang to get FaZe back into the game, capitalizing on the fact that Guma bit his flash in the earlier gank. They get to shove this wave in, maybe even get a plate on the back of it as well, and it is FaZe who picked up that kill, importantly enough.
Yeah, really huge moment here for T1, pushing them into a 400 gold lead off of the first blood alone. As Faker is just going to be slightly annoyed here by Kanavi, so nothing really in return. Delight tried his best to try to alter the course of that bottom side dive with his little hook shot there, tries to prevent the follow-up, but just ultimately not able to do anything. And with Satchel down, there's an easy gank for Owner on that Xin, or excuse me, Jarvan.
Yeah, I think just with how deep Gumayushi was in the lane, I just think there's no way you get out unless T1 massively misplayed it. So early ganks coming in into the bot lane already from both sides, which isn't too unexpected in this situation. Zek has been doing pretty good in this mid lane matchup. We saw him getting those heavy trades earlier, but going to be able to pick up a plate here as well. And the top side, Zeus has that early pressure into the matchup against Sion, but Darn's doing pretty fine, all things considered.
Yeah, I feel like, especially nowadays, with a lot of Rise players having to play into Anivia over and over, they've kind of realized that as long as they can get through the early parts of the game, get a couple of items online, the Anivia damage isn't really that much, so as long as you're not being camped by the jungle, you actually have, you know, good pushing power, especially before the Anivia is level 6. And a lot of our Rise players have been, I feel like, thriving, especially early on in the matchup up against Anivia. Obviously, the Anivia, once she gets going, gets a couple of items, maybe 3 in the team fights, can be extremely annoying, and that's what Faker's going to be looking for.
A lot of burst potential in the Anivia if you can isolate a target with your wall in team fights. As Zeka,
he's running on into this one. Faker's not going to die this time, but I mean, even the ticking damage from the Deathfire touch, Faker's really having a rough time even just surviving.
Yeah,
doesn't have his ult.
Yeah, no ult, no TP. He's in a really dire spot. Zeka's low on mana, but it's a Rise. He still has a decent amount.
No stun.
Yeah, the stun is down, the Ghost is up, but the auto doesn't finish him off, and Zeka nearly retakes the aggro from the Deathfire touch. A big mistake from Zeka. Faker's laughing his way to the bank.
By the way, Faker's passive was coming up in just a few seconds. I think Faker knew he was playing with him. He was trying to bait him in, and Zeka took the bait, hook, line, and sinker, but the re-aggro on the turret, a huge mistake.
I just feel like it goes through your mind. You're like, oh, the burn might kill him, but then he doesn't register the burn. I shouldn't get on the tower. Zeka gets a little bit too greedy there, and this is a great route back into the lane for Faker, who honestly has been struggling in these early levels. And now, he was level 5 there, he's up to level 7.
The second Faker Qs, you're like, I'm going in, right? He doesn't have stun, he doesn't have the peel, I think I have the damage. He's like, I got him. By the way, Faker's super cool about it the whole way through. I made a mistake, he says. And the crowd roars behind him. Faker now with a gold lead in a matchup that felt really, really like he was falling significantly far behind in.
I think part of it, not to make excuses for Zeka, but we've had so many years of phase rush Rise, and maybe not quite used to Deathfire touch on the Rise in that situation.
Yeah, it's not very often Rise builds anything that burns, except obviously in recent patches with the Deathfire touch. And yeah, so now Faker's in a totally fine spot. We take a look at all the other lanes and where they're at. The Jace is still doing well. The bottom lane is winning for T1, as we have seen. As Keria is going to have to flash away, and that's a nice pillar to deny any kind of follow-up there onto Delight. So they collect the flash of Keria at least.
And I think Keria is going to quite frequently be a point that HLE can look to target, being that he has to be the primary warder and he is playing Karma. If his flash is down and you're playing into Trundle or Camille, these are picks that can really capitalize on that effectively. And being flashless means you just have to take safer routes when you're trying to rotate, or you have to play a lot more careful when you're trying to get vision down. Delight looking for an aggressive play on the top lane.
Doran has ult and flash, though.
I don't really know what they're going to look for here outside of a little bit of harass. I mean, this is a Scion that just has plated steel caps, but with the shield and level 7, he's totally fine. So it feels like Delight is looking to do something on the map. Although the knockback is going to come through here, and now Delight gets in there, and Doran does get outplayed there. That is going to be the kill going to Delight.
A little bit of trickery there. Coming back for the late re-engage. Doran, I don't think, expected that, and will cost him his life. He tries to flash and still ends up dying. Delight flashing is not, I mean, it's not like he doesn't want to have flash on this Camille, but I think it's absolutely worth it. Now Doran being flashless in this Jace matchup means repeat ganks could be a possibility. Speaking of, we do have Owner down here. I don't think he's going to be committing to anything, even with Keria in the area. But, all right, a big punch back here for HLE.
Agree, a big pickup considering that I feel like HLE having Delight on the top side, playing towards this is obviously beneficial, but a big focus was getting those grubs anyway. Getting the kill on top of that is just the icing on the cake. We did see grubs buffed on this patch, so even stronger now. And when you have this Jace who's already strong, definitely something powerful buff to set him up with.
Not to mention the Ziggs, obviously, was incredibly strong at taking out turrets.
Yeah.
And Navi felt like he was seen just based on the positioning of Doran, because if he gets in there, lands a pillar, maybe we only have the ult available for Doran, as there's the ult, it's down, and now the Subjugate comes in and he's basically made a paper. This is what the Trundle is so good at doing. They punish Doran once again.
Honestly,
That's what I was talking about, you know, the follow-up gank here, pretty easy to set up. You got the Subjugate, and down he goes, and Owner's just trying to protect this turret, but so much money is going to go over. The grubs are here. Zayas picks up additional plate gold, and now this is a 1,000 gold lead, and Zayas is going to have to be the saving grace here for HLE. They played through him. Let's see what he can get done.
We wanted the Jace to be strong, and he is very strong at this point, so Zayas in a phenomenal spot. I feel like in that gank, Kanavi's pillar placement was not even ideal. It was not cutting off Doran, but with the Subjugate, the damage is just there, and if Doran starts falling behind into a composition that has so much damage and a Subjugate, it's going to be so hard to play these team fights. You step up, a pillar's behind you, you can't ult out, your stats get drained, you get deleted, and suddenly T1's front-to-back ideas go out the window.
Yeah, got to be careful. I feel like Scion oftentimes is picked as safety, someone who can get through the lane, eventually gets very tanky, but it feels real bad when he's just sitting there giving over free gold to the enemy team. Is now Faker in a very awkward spot here, trying to wall his way out of the situation. Probably going to have to flash with the Camille coming over. Flashes long to get away from this one, and now Delight trying to get on the edge, and he gets in to the Realm Warp, and Delight will survive with the help of Zeka.
Oh, the placement was perfect. Just a little bit of the Realm Warp inside the Cataclysm to get him out, and Zeka keeps clear so they can't CC him to cancel. I thought he was just dead in that situation, but a great save there from Zeka.
Very clean. Faker in such an awkward spot as well, right? To have to flash because there's no mid-prio for him to run to, but he doesn't get the flash off successfully. They try to turn it on the play, but the Realm Warp is very cool. And as a result, you know, it's one flash down here for T1, HLE burning nothing. So very successful there outside of the Realm Warp, of course. Dragon, meanwhile, goes to T1. They have double Dragon here, but it's Ocean Soul on the other side, which can feel quite nice into a poke composition in this situation.
All right, we got plays in top and bot. They're trying to punish Guma, who already flashed, and they don't have a whole lot of CC, and now Delight comes in, picks up one, gets the ult down onto Pays, as immediately now we got a TP coming in. T1 trying to double down on this one, but Pays already pretty low. And they're just trying to hold on to the wave. I don't know if they can really go for a redive here.
I don't think so. And now Zeka is just going to be able to push mid freely. Zayas has control of the top side, and Hot Life Esports are swinging into a pretty big gold lead here.
Such a huge win for HLE. Gumyushi doing a phenomenal job there of evading the initial dive. Delight slides in to save him, and then the map impact is just crushing T1 right now. Gold lead for the team expands to 2,000. Gumyushi just slides away with the satchel. Will get poked down a bit there, but it's not too much of a concern.
He doesn't even care.
Yeah, I mean, Gumyushi's played this role for HLE many times before, have to be on the weak side, and he does it so well there.
This is why I think a lot of the, the Zeus, I believe, is 6-0 on this Jace pick. It's because they play through him, right? Unlike a lot of other Jaces, and they leave Guma on this island, right? Guma has the flash here initially, and now he's like, all right, I've done it. The wave is thinned out. Delight comes over, and he's like, let's fight this. And they absolutely do. They can play through the turret. And they know that on the other side of the map they're winning. They know that in the mid lane they're winning.
Looking live what we got going on here. Zeus is in a lot of trouble as he's kind of been baited in by Thorn, honestly. He's trying to dodge everything, goes for the kill, but Owner is still going to pick it up at the end of the day. Owner pretty fed in his own right.
Yeah, you saw the Ziggs ult coming in trying to help get that kill on the Darn, but I don't think it was quite in range to really connect there. So a nice pickup from T1. They're still in this game, very much so. But that Jace is going to continue being a problem. Also, we've seen this tech many times before, the Serpent's Fang rush into Sion, but the value in this game in general is massive with a Jarvan and a Karma in the game as well. They're just trying to go aggressive here on Doran and just doesn't quite have the damage to cut through him quickly enough before Owner shows up.
Yeah, you can see the pings coming over. They kind of realize, oh, okay, this is what's happening. Doran sells this really well. Makes it look like he's just thinking he can actually kind of have a fight with Zeus here. And Zeus wants to continue this pressure in prio. And then Owner shows up. And it was clearly planned 2 steps ahead there for T1. And they end up getting a small win there on killing the Jace, putting him down a little bit here. But so much money over to Owner.
And now this is a situation, though, that you can feel really comfortable in with the very fed Jace in one side lane, the Ryze another, and you just set up the Ziggs mid. And he's just going to clear waves endlessly. Even though Ezreal typically so strong at this point of the game at playing through mid prio, he will be able to push the wave in, but Ziggs will just clear it out before you can really make much off the advantage.
So they can just kind of sit back, rest on their Jace, who is very fed, their Ziggs that's surviving, and the Ryze that is scaling. Does feel like, as long as they can poke past the Sion and the fed Jarvan, they should be eating pretty well, as now Faker's in a bit of trouble here himself. Doesn't have the flash. He's just going to be put down to Egg, and Owner's there, but he just has to watch his mid laner die as Zeka hiding on Bush gets the last laugh.
There's just not a whole lot that T1 can play through right now because their mid lane is an Ezreal that hasn't hit his 2-item spike into a wave-clearing Ziggs. Grubs went over to HLE, and these 2 dragons for T1 feel super low value in exchange with the game state right now. The side lane pushes that are super strong. They guarantee this Herald here. Zeka's already putting work down on this inner, and it very quickly starts to feel like if T1 can't force a fight here soon and try to get this Ezreal online, HLE are just going to run away with this game because they have too much control. And here, T1 are trying to bait a pick onto Zeka, but Kanavi is in the bush, and he springs the trap first. And even with this egg here, Faker is just going to be abandoned by Owner.
I feel like Kanavi finds his way into these lane brushes so often, sneaks his way in, and is just patiently waiting there for his opportunity. And Faker, so often when he dies in the side lane, the typical T1 mantra is Faker dies, but we got all this in return. In this instance, as you said, not able to convert it into anything. 20 seconds on that Dragon third of the game. As you said before, Ocean not the highest value, but into this poke, still a decent amount.
It's all they've got right to hang their hat on here in this game, besides the small Ezreal lead, right? But that doesn't necessarily matter when the rest of the map is in shambles. And if you can't get Prio to poke with your Ezreal, and they have the better poke anyways with Ziggs and Jace, it is going to feel really tricky. T1, you could opt to just leave this Dragon, but I think the value of having Soul Point is going to be enough for them to commit heavily. We do have Zeka with his ult in the bottom lane.
Yeah, it looks like they want to collapse. Might be a little bit late, though, as the damage already done to the Dragon. Kanavi just going to walk up, not going to get the smite, though, as Delight gets in, locks down pace, he gets pulled back in, and everything in the kitchen sink is thrown in the face of the one fed member of T1. And that'll be just more gold in the pockets of HLE now.
Charge of the Herald into the mid lane, Satchel to secure, and T1 are falling apart at the seams here.
You can see he's trying to avoid the wall there with that drift up to the top side, and this push continues. Kanavi is going to have to flash, but I think that's a small price to pay for what they've gotten this play.
Yeah, the second charge puts the tower not quite low enough to Satchel, but pretty close there. Oh, Carrier could be in trouble.
Wow. And even like a fadeaway Satchel just saying, okay, maybe, it gets a little bit lower with the minions. It is pretty close, but they're just getting so much gold on the map right now.
When you have this Camille composition that HLE have, you can make a choice to both give a dragon, but also commit to the dragon and get exit kills, which is exactly what they do here. They double TP, right? Or they have the double TP coming top side here. They use the Herald at the same time, so they're like, we're going to get something out of this no matter what. But it's the flash here from Delight onto Pays, pulls him back in with a Realm Warp angle. They don't even need it, but they are so ready for 3 different ways to punish this team. The Herald, the Camille Flash, the Realm Warp. They're like, yeah, T1, you got your prize, but we are going to get so much more. And that has been the story of this HLE Game 1 here. You got the Dragon, we got everything else.
And now with mid tower gone, it feels like T1 have to push so much deeper to contest these neutral objectives. When you have a composition like this, when you have the likes of the Pillar, of the Hextech Ultimatum, it's going to be difficult to disengage from unfavorable situations. With this gold deficit, most situations are going to be unfavorable for T1 right now. We do have Pays coming up on that big item spike with the Mirror Mana being stacked soon, but it just doesn't feel nearly as significant as it could be in this state of game.
I wonder if now for T1 the game plan is completely shifted and you start thinking about your Anivia wave clear and you start thinking about giving up a few dragons and you start thinking about maybe, you know, we contest for some barons later on, but we are just going to have to let everything go from here on out, just try to defend our turrets. Because trying to force fights and start fights at this game state, 3,000 gold behind, into this Fed rise, right, the Jace is insanely ahead. It just doesn't feel realistic at this point.
The problem as well is that you're playing where your engage is mostly the Jarvan and maybe the Sion, but Sion is playing into the likes of a Trundle who can pillar to interrupt his engage. And the Jarvan, when you look at the other side, all 3 carries on HLE have flashes.
They're trying to get owner here. I mean, even a TP going to be committed to as everybody trying to come over and help them. But now Faker gets baited into this one, but he will be okay. Actually, just walks it off. Zeka also using both summoners. And they've got to respond to the top push. We also have a Satchel in bot as HLE. They don't get any kills, but they're still getting more map gold.
This is a great macro game from HLE. This is also the type of game that we've been talking about kind of tangentially to this, where we've seen HLE pull back the aggression a little bit and play through the map, play a little bit slower, choke people out, and this is another example of that type of game where it's not just Kanavi dives repeatedly. They play the Trundle, they know their win cons, they play through the top lane, they let Guma sit weak, and suddenly the gold lead is just so immense, and T1 has so little options. And T1 opts for that little scrap, and it costs them most of a top inner turret.
I mean, you look
at the grubs here.
How much play gold Zeus has gotten. The fact that they got those 3 grubs for him, the Ziggs being here as well who can help with tower pushing, but just Zeus has been absolutely on a tear this game, and this Jace, so hard to deal with. When you're playing outside of the Ezreal, a shorter range composition, it's a minute until that next dragon. They did at least get the flash from Zeka in that situation, but when I was talking about the 3 carries of HLE, he is the bulkiest by far, and if you do Cataclysm him, they don't have the most amazing damage follow-up to just burst through him. If he survives, you're in a really bad spot. Ideally, you would have loved to get Zeus' flash, and then take him out of the fight immediately, remove all that gold, and be in with much better odds. We'll have to see how T1 play this one. That Cataclysm is such an important ability.
Yeah, keep in mind this Jace was prio pick, the first pick for HLE from the second pick side, obviously. And Zeus is one of the guys that's always gone back to this pick, even when we saw so many counters into this, you know, the Sion, the Yorick, the Cassante, you know, what have you, so many different options for teams. But, you know, T1 say, okay, we'll play the Sion, we'll deal with this, but the amount of help that Zeus got, the fact that he was already winning the lane, it's all just ballooned into some problem that T1 cannot handle. And speaking of which, Faker walking up and nearly dying is going to flash away, as now the front to back is here for the side of T1, but they're very much playing tail between the legs. That is going to be a missed shock blast though, so maybe a chance for them to enter, but we'll see if they even want to fight this.
I don't think so. I think you got to just try to cut your losses and get a little bit of a dent on this turret. But Zeus,
they're going in onto Zeus, as not sure if he's beating or what. Just now Doran going to charge on in, but he's in a bit of trouble. Has to flash away himself. Zeka on the chase, looking for more. There's the pillar into the roots from the rise, as T1 just trying to kite this one out. Even a TP coming in from Faker as he looks for more. The stun is going to miss, as now the shock blast comes in, and it's just missiles flying both directions, but nobody dying.
Very close there, honestly, for Carrier going down. A lot of summoners burned. Dragon Gun and HLE isn't of a major concern, and even though the game state is still bad for T1, this and Gumyushi's flash has been burnt. I feel like this is the window they've been looking for to be able to actually make their way back in with a fight. If you can find a window to engage one of those targets, then maybe.
It's so impressive that T1 get anything out of this, right? Because AS is here to clear the wave, right? They try to collapse onto him, it's unsuccessful. And then Keria ends up eating so much damage. As you can see, Owner is just kind of off on the side, hoping maybe there'll be an overextension. Maybe there's an opportunity, right? He's just waiting. But HLE don't really give it here. Faker gets the flash out of Guma, which is big. But T1 are like, we got to give up the Dragon. We'll get something in return. They really get nothing in terms of the turret. But we're able to at least get those critical flashes, so maybe the next time they're given that opportunity, it'll be a real advantage. His Delight is also made of paper.
Yeah, he is able to buffer that pretty nicely to get out. Now could look for the re-engage as they're looking for Faker, who doesn't have his flash. Nice peel here from Owner, just trying to get his mid laner to safety, but he's going to be the one that pays the iron price at the end of the day. And that will be one kill going the way of HLE so far.
So rough. Owner trying to save his mid laner, goes down as the jungler. You're so much more important now. Baron on the cards for HLE. T1 trying to contest, but taking so much poke.
Yeah, the poke is kind of insane. I mean, Doran just trying to lead the charge here, trying to force them to turn, and that they will, but HLE able to dispose of him pretty quickly. Although at the end of the day, they're not able to restart the Baron just yet. That's more poke on a Keria, though. And they say, okay, let's go for it once again. As really, it's up to FaZe to try to poke some back here. He's got a red buff. They don't really have much vision, though. As maybe, I think someone was wrapping around. I think that's why we're not being shown the vision from the top side of this fight. FaZe and T1 feeling the pressure, though, as that is going to be FaZe hopping away. And he gets to safety, but HLE get the Baron.
FaZe wasn't able to land enough poke there, I think, for the challenge. And he was so scared to step up. The placement of the bombs from Guma on the ground really preventing them from getting to that Baron as quickly as they would have liked to. This all starts with Delight being a potential caught target here, but Faker is unable to wall him away. Now his wall is down and he's vulnerable. Owner has to bail him out. And now you don't have access to the Baron. You don't have a jungler. The poke is saying, look, again, the bombs here in this choke point. T1 have to wait that out, which means FaZe is only the one who can offer damage when Doran goes in. And as you can see here, he hits 1 Q on the Delight, and that's it. Nothing else really to speak of. And so the Baron goes over. Hanwha Life Esports, 6,600 gold ahead.
To me, the control from HLE, the setup around the Scion, the satchel into blocking the ult, and also when Owner went in, the immediate ult from Delight so he couldn't flag and drag out. They're controlling the members of T1 so well, and whenever anyone is overextended, giving so little chance to escape, and now with this massive lead and Baron in hand, it's going to be almost impossible to stand up the siege. Yes, Faker's wave clip. Look at the poke.
Yeah, and also the fact that the pillar comes in and stops his ult. So you're already dealing with trying to clear Baron waves, but you can't when there's a Trundle.
Doran just TP'd in for the massive shield, and he got Serpent's Fanged. It's just gone.
Yeah, see you later, Mr. Shield. As you can see, T1 desperately trying to find an engage here, but it has been clean from the side of HLE so far.
And it's a Ziggs comp with 3 grubs. If you've got great wave clear, but if he touches the turret, you're not having any of it. You're not gonna. Your turret's gonna just disappear. So they do buy a decent amount of time here. Hanwha Life Esports are gonna go for a reset. So if you're watching this, hoping for a T1 comeback, the good news is the base isn't open yet. The bad news is everything else. And Ace still has a gold.
You're not really selling it there.
Ace still has a gold lead, right? He's on 3 items. Faker's soon to have his 3rd as well.
Oh.
They're gonna realm warp for a play here.
Yeah, and once again, Owner's like, man, I might have to try to bail you out again, but there's no bailing this out as the Realm War play from Zeka is excellent.
The snap plays from HLE this game have just been so good, so intelligent, such good reads of the map. Na'Vi might be in trouble here.
I mean, he is Trundle, but, you know, he's never really had to burn his flash.
Yep.
So he just uses it there, and, I mean, there's not really much that T1 can do to use a Trundle flash.
30 seconds left on the Baron. And I think T1 will not lose an inhibitor tower at this point. So the game is in a dire spot, but I guess that's a silver lining for now, at least.
Yeah,
the Dragon
selling it well too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying. Doing my best.
This Hexplate Trundle is super interesting as well. I really like this build because it's going to give you your subjugate all the time, and he keeps just using it on whoever is seen and caught. It's obviously amazing into the Scion, but it's great into the Jarvan as well. If you could find him, he just dies instantly, basically, when he's trying to go in. So You say, well, you engaged on us, but who did you catch? You caught the Rise, who's super tanky, who has Seraphs. You die. Good try. And every single time Owner has to try to go in, he has to think twice about what it's going to mean into this Trundle pick that's got its ult up all the time.
Yeah, this comp from the side of HLE is so win more as well because you have so much catch potential with the Camille. Like, Delight can always go like 10 out of 10 aggro onto Pays if he really needs to because he knows the follow-up will be there. And, I mean, you know, the follow-up damage from the Ziggs, the Rise, everybody that's ahead. We take a look at the difference in the gold and the damage in the top lane. It's actually kind of disgusting. Almost 5 times the damage done here by Zeus. And yes, it is the Scion, but I mean, that's a huge impact so far from Zeus.
We got some big item buyers coming in as well. Gumayusi just picked up the Void Staff. We got Sterak's for Delight. We got Deadman's Plate for Kanavi. We already had Actualizer earlier for Zeka, but I think on the back of these, HLE feels so strong. If someone oversteps from T1, they're already in a position to fight, but they will be hunting now to push forward the pace of the game.
That they just keep killing on repeat with pillar setups is even not safe, right? And the wave clear Faker has doesn't mean that he just gets to actually push the side lane into this draft. They just can only play defensive. They can only catch waves. And eventually, sure, if we get to 35 minutes plus, 40 minutes in this game, T1 will have a fighting chance as that Goldie means less and less. But this is not D plus KT, you know, this is not that kind of game. I don't think HLE are going to mess this up. They've made all the right decisions here with this lead. They have been so oppressive. Like, this means nothing to them. Nice try, Faker.
Well, it keeps the control word alive for now, at least. That's a victory. We're taking that.
Small wins are still wins.
Yeah, little by little.
Actualizer picked up for Faker, you know?
See Zeus pushing the top wave and now recalling to group up with the team, so now have all members grouped together. You can see setting up this vision, they're looking.
Wow, going in on a carry, actually. This is very aggro to try to kill the support, and yeah, they do get him, but Delight immediately trades everything. Tons of damage to an Owner! This is his flash! And now he's just barely going to get away for now, but Zeus is going very deep, gets stunned up against the wall, and Zeus going too hard, gets taken down.
I think T1 got a little lucky there, but also this was the moment I said probably we weren't going to be seeing in this game where maybe a little patience is lost because OnLive Esports have such a lead, but they weren't happy to just sit back and say, well, we'll just wait for that Baron to spawn and look for a turn there. They end up losing 2 critical members, though, before the Baron spawns, and now don't have that strong foothold they had moments before. As Carrier, Delight's like, you can't clear this ward. I'm not going to allow it, but he's not alone. He has basically the whole team here. And the trade initially looks great. Owner messes up this flash, which is a bit of a tragedy, but baits them in. And T1 are on that Baron I was just talking about. You get these 2 kills, and suddenly you've got a window back in the game.
And so much of the gold is on Zeus as well. They take him out, and now Kanavi has to try to come in here and steal. And the Subjugate is keeping him alive, but now actually going to trade his life with Paige, but more damage is coming out here. Good massive ult from Doran, but the follow-up not there just yet. They finally take out Zeka, though. They haven't dealt with Guma as Delight goes in, and now Zeus is back. TP's into the fight, and T1 are super low. Trying to get away, and a shot blast barely going to miss, but HLE at least able to clean up this Baron try.
T1 saw their window back in the game and did everything they could to try and find it, but HLE able to force them off the Baron, force them away, and with the respawn of Zeus, get them away from the purple worm. But it was a delicate point of the game. You got to feel, we see with this fight starting off here, they're playing blocker on Kanavi. He survives for a while, but Pays plays so aggressive and just gets deleted, trying to clean up the jungler. And in the ensuing fight, without his damage, it's so hard.
If Pays lives, it's a totally different fight. Faker's so low on mana, as you guys could see. Even though he has his egg, you know, he just cannot afford to stick around any longer. They have to just leave Doran out. Now, they are in live trying to take Baron. Kanavi has respawn, but he isn't here yet, and Faker's back with full mana.
They're not doing a good job of tanking this, but I think the poke of Guma might be too much, as that's a bit of damage coming on in, and a smite secure should be there from Kanavi. Waits until 1,000 health, and he's able to pick it up. It looked a little bit dicey, but at the end of the day, they're far enough ahead. There's not enough of a contest from T1, so HLE pick up their second Baron of the game.
Yeah, I also think that Faker and Carrier without flashes can't really approach the Baron itself, so we're kind of just poking over the wall, but they don't have that much range, so were able to do a ton. Now T1 are trying to get that early on Dragon and get control of the area, set up and lock down the space. You can see Zeka looking for a flank angle here.
And they're trying to go and look for a turn, maybe a kill on a Kanavi, try to get something out. As big damage already. Look at this, and the flank comes in, but they turn immediately on a Zeka. Big shield on him, but they take down the Rise. And now trying to kite this one front to back is T1. In goes Owner, has a GA. The Light is able to take down the Ezreal, and that is so much of the damage here. But now Kanavi goes down, Faker's still alive. Zeus slowed up. He's gonna get stunned next to the Dragon, and it's chaos. Nobody can deal with the Scion, actually. And now the long-range poke comes in, and T1 are winning a fight, down 7,000 gold. They're gonna take the Ocean Soul. And Guma's done 7,000 damage, but he's all alone. Just a sad little Ziggs with his back against the Scion. Is able to take out Owner, funnily enough, but a small prize as Doran picks up a massive sack of gold.
Doran's in final form on this Scion, and I think the mistake here was Zeka approaching on this flank with no flash available. T1 see him, and immediately Owner turns onto him. And even as bulky as he is, he still goes down.
The thing I think they were thinking was, I've got enough damage with this Actualizer Rise. Once the ult comes down from Guma, I wipe them. Like, he's thinking, I'm going to clean them up so fast, but he doesn't. He gets poked, but just basically collapsed on there and blown up. T1 snap engage and turn the focus the second he shows on vision there. And then, like you said, there just isn't enough damage to cut through this Scion anymore. As Guma plays this really well, he plays it as best as he can.
Oh, we got another pick here, by the way. Zeka, he runs out, doesn't have any time, and Zeka again, unfortunately, has been a bunch of errors in this game that have really put his team in a bad spot, and now T1, all of a sudden, they're pushing mid. This is the same game where they were 8,000 gold behind, 2 Barons to HLE. And you said it before, well, if they didn't break into the base, they really didn't break the backs of T1. And T1 have been in this position before where they're just waiting for the enemy team to make mistakes, and we have seen quite a few of them here.
Zigzag being used defensively now. Poke missing there from Zeus as well. And with the Ocean Soul, they're feeling so much safer against that poke.
Oh, Doran looking for it, trying to get the flank on her, but so many knockups. They get the kill on the Ziggs. They're looking for more. As down will go Owner. A lot of damage from the turret going on at T1. But at the end of the day, they have the Karma Shields. They have this gigantic Scion. And they are just force pressing HLE into these fights and winning them.
I mean, this is what happens if you make a critical mistake. As Zeka made 2 in a row, the game can change just like that.
Look at this.
In this moment, he's just pushing midway. If your Faker catches him with the max range Q, he has no flash. Then the wall comes up. He tries to realm warp his way out, but there's just too many threats. But you can see what happens when HLE's composition loses map control, loses vision control, and has to poke through waves, has to poke blind with the Jace and the Ziggs. The Ziggs is using his ultimate to clear waves, but the wave still crashes. This game has turned on its head completely. Honda Life Esports still with a gold lead, but the control they had is completely gone.
Yeah, barely at this point, having the gold lead, and Doran with the Ocean Soul and the items he has, so hard to cut through. For so much of this game, it's been about Zeus being ahead of the curve, but now he has 4 items in a dig compared to 4 items of Doran. You're just not cutting through that Scion. You had a timer where you were so far ahead, you could deal with T1, you were ahead, everything was going for you. The map control was spectacular. And then a step too far, and suddenly HLE now staring down the prospect of an even kill game. Only 1,000 gold lead. And to lose a game 1 like this would be absolutely devastating to the mental. So definitely not over yet, but I feel like they have to find a better way to approach these fights. Try and get some poke onto the backline members, the critical members again. Because if they try and brute force through Doran, it's just never going to work unless he really oversteps.
Especially with the amount of nemesises that this team has, that, you know, for some of these players like Zeus versus Doran, you start to think, if I can't win with this lead, can I win at all? As Owner is going to avoid this engage.
They're going very hard into this Jarvan, and they should be able to take him down. Nicely done, just trying to utilize that. As now the TP is coming in, and this is Faker! He just TPs directly in the face of HLE and dies, and now Pays really the main character here trying to get away, but HLE are on the chase. The root comes down, and just like that, everything flips over again. Keria all by his lonesome gets taken down, and Doran trying to hold on to the wave, but they're TPing in. HLE want to end the game now.
The Light's going to try and stall him out as long as he can. I think you might know he'll stay alive for the time being, but all they need to do is stall. The rest of them have enough damage to close, and T1, who brought the game back from the brink, don't manage to close it out. Fumble at the last moment, and it's HLE with a decisive end to game 1.
You've got to feel a lot of relief if you're a Hanwha Life fan. You can see on the players' faces not any celebration at those moments because they know they clutched it out in the end. They punished T1 hard, and Faker teleported into the entirety of their team, and they walk away the ones who destroyed the Nexus, but they will always have in the back of their minds that gold grab, the huge comeback, the swings, the errors that Zeka made from the solo kill in the mid lane to the wraparound and then getting caught by Faker a second time there in mid at critical moments that almost got T1 back. T1 definitely frustrated with this fight. I almost feel like the mental edge still goes to T1 after this one. The fact that you were able to nearly bring it back to the brink makes you feel like anything is possible, and for On Life you might think any game is losable. We won this one, but we are really going to have to tighten it up going into game 2.
I think for both teams, the thought that would be going through my head right now is this is going to be a long series.
Absolutely.
I think it will be, based on what we've seen. I think it really highlights the fact that both these teams are so good that if you give them even an inch, both ways, they will take it and try to take a mile and try to win the game. And T1 nearly were able to do that. HLE, they got one mistake. They got that pick on an owner. The TP from Faker was a bit aggressive. They were able to take him down. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile on both sides. So HLE winning the series so far 1-0 after a bit of a heart attack moment there in that game number 1. But we'll have to wait and see what happens in game number 2 after the break.
저. 야, 와봐. 가졌다.
정원 막아놨고.
잡았어.
좋아.
태부터 애니비야. 봐줘. 애니비야 뿌렸다. 뿌렸다.
애니비야. 다 했어?
이제 맞았고. 아, 사이언. 돼.
우리 둘이 사이언.
나이스.
사이언 가져.
사이언 잡으면 끝난다.
사이언 잡아야 돼.
바로. 아, 사이언 와봐.
알겠어. 대포 있다.
아, 다행이다. 정신 차리자잉. 내가 차릴게. 야, 너가봐. 하해. 끝내자. 런들이 와도 돼요.
그냥 집중만 더.
탐나네. 손 잘 풀었다잉.
형님 집중 끌어줘.
무조건 끝나.
이기는 게 좋은 거 알지?
잘 물었다 마지막에.
얘 못 가.
It is kind of taking the scenic route, though. It's going like really round out to the side.
Well, that's what we're here for, right? We're not on the train yet.
Okay.
You know? Varus going to be banned again here. Orianna remains incredibly high prio. HLE, it's going to be a Bard ban in this slot, you have to imagine, against T1. They have first pick, so there's some wiggle room there for sure. But I think that you just don't want to introduce this variable.
I'm interested to see how the support meta of this series kind of boils out with the fact that game 1 we already had the Camille from the Light. We talked about how the buffs to melee supports definitely helps him. And he was on great form in that game 1 on the Camille. So if he has the chance to play these engages, he absolutely will. But it really depends on the prio picks, if it is that Caitlyn being prioritized, obviously something you want to pair with a range support more typically.
Yeah, we did see that the Nautilus was banned in Game 1 away from Delight as well. We'll see if T1 want to do that a second time here, if they've got their eyes on something else. But first we'll have that final Hanwha ban. It's the Vayne.
So Nautilus, Yone, and Cassiopeia all banned last draft and now left available and possible for either side of pick, depending on this last ban for T1. Will they let the Cassiopeia go free, or will they just take that out here? Obviously being super high prio in the LCK.
I think you probably want to ban the Cassiopeia over the Nautilus. But they'll ban the Gnar in response to the Vayne ban, excuse me, as that is Zeus' signature pick and would have been a very safe blind topside choice. Without the ability to play some of the more common range supports, Caitlyn stocks might be down a little bit here. What they want to go for in this first spot. Cassiopeia, definitely a strong option, especially considering there's no Ryze, there's no Anivia. They'll go for Kanavi's Vi instead.
I mean, he's just been on a tear on this pick, and a lot of Zeka's champion pool does pair up well with it. Obviously, a pick that Into the Miasma doesn't have a super fun time, but if you just ult the Cassiopeia and you have the follow-up, can take her out of the fight. We'll see if T1 look to prioritize that here, though, or if they will pass it back over to HLE. I feel like Cassiopeia Vi isn't a pairing we typically expect to see very much.
More commonly, something like the Ahri.
Yeah, or Aurora.
Exactly, the Aurora. Bessa pick here early in this draft for Doran.
Yeah, a
Really
lot of
did not
top
expect
bans, and I think they're just trying to get comfort for Doran with already a lot of stuff that could be played into it taken away.
Normally, if you go for a pick like this, you're leaning towards a dive composition of some type. Is it going to be like Mbessa Lulu with the Nocturne? It looks like they're going to grab the Nocturne first, because they won't be able to get both. But I feel like you didn't need to pick the Mbessa here. Could have looked for something else with this Nocturne instead.
These are great picks for these players. You know, Doran's had fantastic results with the Mbessa, Owner, and Nocturne we've seen so many times, but they're committing heavily to this sort of dive setup when they don't really know what they're going to be diving yet. There isn't that information, and I feel like HLE have the opportunity to draft around that and make sure that carries are in a position where they can be a bit more defensive and able to survive.
This was a classic for Zeus in the past in this very matchup, and he's going to pull it out here again. The Rek'Sai, super rare to see that right now at this stage of the meta, but so is the early Mbessa, and they get the opportunity to counterpick. Will we see a Ahri lock-in here for Zeka now? Something that pairs with this Vi, or they have something else in mind. I think it's almost certainly a Zeka pick.
Yeah.
It could just be the Aurora, but they go for the Ahri.
But like Aurora, Talia were both potential options, but they go for the Ahri, and I think in terms of safety, as well as being able to follow up, it's not an easy target to get on. There aren't any easy targets to focus on for T1, I feel like, at this point yet. It really depends on what Guma's pick is in the AD carry role, but his will be coming after the next set of bans. And now here for T1, will they go for an AD carry pick or a mid pick? Will they answer the Ahri first and foremost?
Question we're going to have answered. Lysandra for Faker. We've been talking about this pick a lot recently. Very powerful, got buffed a few patches ago, but we are just not seeing it as a response. But I think it works well with Nocturne. It works well with Mbessa. It can also be a dive pick, but the ability to lock down the Ahri, to lock down the Vi in team fights is what makes it so special here.
Historically, it was a counter to Ahri, and we've seen it. I've seen a lot of the pros playing it in support and top in solo queue, funnily enough, less so in mid. But with the new Imperial Mandate changes, the item syncs so well with her, giving a cooldown reduction on her ult and W, and that vulnerable damage. So I think a great pickup for T1, matching the theme of their composition. Interestingly, they ban out the Ashe. I feel like Gumayushi, even though he is a phenomenal Ashe, we've seen a lot of games recently where he's been targeted heavily and gotten 8 or 7 deaths on it. So I feel like with a composition like this, that could have been the game plan again.
Sure.
But they respect the Ashe Seraphine in this situation regardless.
I think that the arrow value for single target they already have is also really high, so that's a little bit scary. I think the Lulu pick is really strong for T1. I think that that should be something that Hanwha Life Esports should be looking at right now, because when you consider the vulnerability with the Imperial Mandate, any scaling AD carry is going to work well. Yunara Lulu could be the follow-up here to this draft. It could even be Zeri. They're going to ban the Lulu themselves. However, I think it also works well with the Vi, but their comp looks like it was built for wild growth. Surprised to see they're the ones, especially with pick priority here, who take it away.
I would have thought maybe like a Xayah ban could have made sense in this situation as an AD carry that we know Guma's very good on and can have that Featherstorm just to remain safe against all this dive.
With his Caitlyn Poppy, I feel like he's kind of making a statement that he's interested in playing it. Into the Rakan, the Poppy would have been a great answer, but not an option anymore.
See what T1 opt for in this situation. I feel like it's always tricky having to pick bot lane separately when it is that pairing. And it's going to be them denying the Xayah in this situation.
I think they realized what's up, and this is the only option they have left.
I mean, Rakan on top of this composition as well is a huge threat.
I mean, what about just Nautilus Misfortune here, though, for Hanwha Life Esports? It works well with their comp. They have so much lockdown. It's been a pick that we've seen Guma and Delight really enjoy to play.
I'm not a huge fan of Misfortune here just because I think you're going to really struggle to ever channel the ult, and you are immobile even when you have that movement speed. But they end up picking the Rakan first in this situation. Obviously, a champion that Delight has a lot of success on. Will HLE deny the Xayah and break the pairing apart? Guma taking the Xayah, Keria on the Rakan, but on different teams.
What does it mean? I think we all know what it means, and they're going to play Renata Glass with
I love this pick. I was thinking maybe there was the angle for like a Calista Renata, but Xayah Renata, you have the safety in the ultimate, you have the value of that hostile takeover into this composition of T1, because T1, their cards are all on the table. This is the dive composition through and through. There's no other way to really play it. Like, yes, you can play through punishing sides, but when it comes to the 5v5, you're diving that backline. That's how it's going to operate. I wonder if the AD carry pick is going to try and...
I think they got to go range. They're looking for the Sivir here, which is going to give a ton of wave clear. The Lissandra has a decent amount of that as well. And it is a spell shield into all of this engage, but it's not great into Vi, who could just smite the spell shield away on her way in. And you are really making this composition both a dive and engage comp, but also a scaling comp where the Sivir can't follow up with high damage. She needs more time, so you have to use your CC to buy her that time in late game team fights. I think the theme of this draft here for T1 is a little bit broken. I was kind of hoping for like a Jinx pick, because then you have the range for the laning phase, and then you have, if a takedown comes over, obviously great team fighting power, because you have the setup for that successful trap there for the Jinx, and that initial kill could have done it, but that's not in the realm of LCK meta. We don't see those picks. We don't see those niche picks. Sure, the Lissandra here is about as niche as it gets, but I think in game one, we all kind of felt like the win cons for Hanwha Life Strap were a little bit safer. This draft, for me, feels almost even worse for T1 because there's just so many outs on Hanwha's side.
I think there's a lot of explosive power, though, when it comes to those team fights. I know it's going to be difficult navigating through the defensive ultimates available to the bot lane, but we saw what can be done when you lead the charge heavily on the back of like Delight's Camille. I think that is the vibe they're going for on this one. The snap engages if someone's out of position, because ultimately that is what won game one.
Just got to play to your strengths, and perhaps that's what we'll see here as we hop onto the Rift for T1 versus HLE game number 2. All right, game number 2. Game number 1, definitely a bit of a flip fest towards the last 5 or 6 minutes. But this time around, we'll have to wait and see. I feel like, you know, when I saw the players come off the stage, nobody looked shook at all. You know, based on that game, I think a lot of players and a lot of teams already in this bracket have had trouble from behind or after a wonky losing game. You think about Bro against CK, where they almost won game 1 and then they lost it, and then the game was just or the series was just a wipe afterwards. It just feels like T1 versus HLE. These players are just so composed. They lose a game, they're already in analytical mode. They're like, all right, what went wrong? What can we do better? How are we going to win the series from here on both sides? And I would imagine that their mental is probably still very fortified at the moment.
I have to agree. I do think that, we're going to see a bit of a tempo heal. Rated. I do think that with this draft here for T1, you have both the ability to be the ones who make the first move, make the aggressive play with the Nocturne Lissandra, Rakan, with the Ambessa. I mean, there's so many ways to chain CC together. But you also have the scaling element and time buying element that the Sivir provides you. So it feels in some ways a bit of a catch-all. It's just that its theme isn't directly one way or the other. So we'll see how they decide to play it through the mid-game. And if they fall behind, how they're going to just sit back and farm up. Because we saw a near comeback from them in game 1 with a good punish. This draft, I think, absolutely can do that again with the tools they have, even if they do fall behind.
I think if I'm T1 in this situation, I think the definite avenue in is that you can really target Kanavi and Light. I mean, they both, I feel like, were pretty consistent in the last game, but Vi in particular always has that pseudo safety of being able to dash out, but if you see Sears, you can't. And I feel like we so often see Renata with Callista, but you don't have that safety net this game, that ability just to get pulled out from an engage. You're the one who has to be warding, so T1 definitely has that threat. Be able to set up onto those targets. They're in trouble here.
Zeus going in, going to force the flash, and there was a lot of trading early on. Generally, this is going to favor the Rek'Sai because you just have insane amounts of sustain. And now that ward, very critical here. Doran going to know that Kanavi is in the top side of the map. And here comes Owner up to the top side, maybe trying to get something going here.
Kanavi doesn't know he was seen, so if he wants to try to make a longer-term play here, it could backfire because Owner is in the area, even though he's in the early game. Nocturne here, it looks like this is just going to be both junglers retreating. Looks like, although what we know is...
Yeah, still sticking around. That's the ward to come down. Doran, he needed to know, and now he knows 100% as First Blood does go over, and Zeus picks that one up on his top Rek'Sai.
I feel like this is just textbook Kanavi. We saw it last game as well. This patient waiting. He'll spend as much time as he feels he needs to get that play, and especially when you know that Doran already doesn't have flash, it's so easy to set up when he approaches that brush.
And there's your enemy jungler is Nocturne. He can't get over walls. He had vision in the river. So there's no way Owner can close the gap fast enough there with where he was and where Doran was to actually impact the play. There was no way there could be a Nocturne nearby. So he waits, he calculates, I know exactly how much damage we need here to burst him down before he can look for the outplay. He already lost his flash moments before thanks to Zeus' 1v1 prowess there in the matchup. And as a result, HLE once again getting a lead early.
There's a little bit of cost to it, though. We can see already Kanavi is down 2 camps. So Owner, who is happy just farming towards his level 6, will be a little bit ahead in terms of pace of that. Although Kanavi did get XP from that kill, so he's keeping up in terms of levels for the time being.
Yeah, still a nice little start there for Kanavi. We've seen that Faker's gone back a couple of times. Zeka trying to hold the wave right in front of his turret and has been getting the better of these early trades. Now where the Lissandra really shines against the Ahri is eventually, you know, Ahri's trying to dash around a bunch and you press R on her. Or you are yourself, as that's going to be the root. Faker not yet level 6, and waiting for the flash charm is huge from Zeka, sets it up, and Kanavi locks it down.
What a moment there from Zeka. Just completely takes Faker out with the flash charm there, and Kanavi is able to scoop up the kill, but hardly necessary. Well, they still get the assist gold over to Zeka. Now T1 trying to make a cross map here, but Owner still doesn't have 6. If you can steal some of these Krugs, maybe. Nope.
I mean, he's going to go in and try to start a trade against a level 6 Vi. That's what he's going to do, is now Zeus flashes in, and Owner's like, well, I guess I'm dead.
He flipped it on the minis. Kanavi gets 6 first as a result, and he just dies.
I think because Kanavi spent so long in the brush, maybe got XP from that, and I think Owner might have miscalculated when the level 6 was coming through. This is replay of that play mid, so level 6 is hit, and Faker's mind, he's like, I just have to flash the charm. He catches up to me with the charm flash, catches him off guard, can't react in time, and Zeka gets a phenomenal kill. Yeah, I assume Owner must have miscalculated and thought Kanavi wasn't close enough to his level 6, because he steps up here full of confidence, and immediately the play goes wrong.
I think even if Kanavi stays level 5, he probably still dies.
The Nocturne ultimate isn't going to offer you anything in this situation, not really. Not without help. So that was just a weird judgment there from Owner.
Either way, definitely a bit over-aggressive, if we're being nice, as now here comes T1 into the jungle trying to take the blue away.
I think at least if Kanavi doesn't have ult, he can flash over the wall.
Yeah.
That's fair. But like, you know, what are we really gaining?
Yeah. So that's going to be the entire top side of the map here for HLE ahead. I mean, the Rek'Sai's ahead. We know what Rek'Sai can do from ahead as well. Like, it's not a pick that's going to burst you down, but he's just going to stick around in however long the fight is going to be and sustain forever.
I feel like when we had Rek'Sai in the meta before, obviously things have changed since then, but it felt like so much of her position in top lane was there was some lanes she'd actually get bullied out a bit, but just be able to sustain. But then in the later team fights, was so hard to deal with the constant knockups and sustain and tankiness. So if you're winning early, it feels really good, and Keria tries to find an angle there, is unable to. Nice spell shield from Paze, gets them to safety.
It's already a lot of desperation out of T1 in this game. Even though it's still early days, and they have this Sivir to fall back on, you know, I think in this moment, probably just take the Dragon and walk out. They made it pretty risky there, almost had to burn a sum. They will get away just fine, but high risk play. Reward of the Dragon, though, is still picked up. That play from Owner on the top side, we've already discussed heavily that it was very aggressive, very brash. Does end up backfiring. But I still think T1 are very much in this game, but one or two more mistakes like that, and that can change very quickly with, like you mentioned, the Rek'Sai, and also the fact that from behind, the damage isn't there to burst anybody they engage on, you know, until the Sivir is a larger threat, or if Doran is ahead, which he's not, you know, he could be some of that follow-up damage, but they just don't have it right now. So T1 need to be very cautious about continuing to try to Hail Mary their way back into this early game. As we have a TP.
And a TP here on Aguma, but he has Ghost, so he just presses Ghost and walks away.
I will
not going to work.
We've hit that point of the top lane matchup where Doran hit level 6 and killed his ultimate, so he gets a ton of free healing and armor pen, so now the matchup feels way better. It's one of the benefits of being those champions. You get a ton of free stats just for leveling up their ultimate ability.
Yeah. He also got Executioner's Calling, of course, which helps a lot in this matchup.
I mean, that definitely does. But yeah, I think Ambessa, especially because they buffed the healing recently, it's pretty insane the spike you just get from level 6.
We're going to make a play here, but immediately the ult comes out. The charm is there, and now Owner has to flash away. Nearly in kill range. You could see Zeka was calculating the numbers in that moment, but not going to be enough, especially with Faker there with his ult. But yeah, that's the first paranoia from Owner, and so far the Nocturne falling very flat in this early game.
And they are grasping at a lot of straws, and they're not coming back with any straws in this one.
I think this is kind of highlighting there's not great lanes to pop those ultimates on. You know, they went for the TP bot lane onto Gumayushi, he just ghosted away, he still had flash, still had ult. Go for the play mid, it's onto an Ahri. As long as Zeka is responsive in time, you just need to be so snappy on the ultimate to catch him out, and he's just able to disengage. Definitely feeling already, this early in the game, as you said, T1 feeling a bit desperate with trying to make these plays happen. I mean, they have the engage tools, they should be using them, but the execution just hasn't quite been there as of yet.
Keria here, so he has level 6, but it's really tough to try to get onto Isaiah, who has flash and ult. The light can disengage, can peel, and I think you're going to have to wait for your opportunity here. You can definitely find dive targets, you can definitely find punishes with this comp for T1, but players who have Ghost or players who are just under turret with mobility, probably not going to be the options that you're looking for.
Trying to make a play once again, I guess? No, just a little zoom in from Jonas Strong. At the end of the day, Owner doesn't have flash, doesn't have paranoia, so not really going to amount to much, especially with the light there as well.
Also with Infernal into Hextech Soul, two of our big budget souls out of the way. With those two dragons, sorry, coming in phase 2. Doesn't mean our soul, good chance it might not be the most impactful in this game.
Could be similar to the last game as Kanavi is here, but there's not a great angle for him to utilize. This wave is going to get cleared. A little bit early for this prio for the Dragon, as it's not spawning for 70 more seconds. Owner's going to surf around to this bottom lane and see if he can find a counter gank here, but so much of his jungle is being taken away. And there's no teleport for Faker. There's no prio. So it's very easy for Kanavi to continue to do this. He's very close now to farm with Owner.
They want to make the Valyari work once again, or at least try to get some kind of summoner out of Faker. It's very difficult. Again, we were talking about the Lissandra into the Ahri. You know, he kind of got outplayed earlier on with the crazy play from Zeka. but still going to be good as they're looking for the pick here on a Kanavi. The charm comes down, but that is not the easiest target. They're going all in to try to take out Kanavi. It's taking quite a while through the exhaust. Kanavi with the bailout, but finally they do get the kill. But it is going to be Peace who pays his life for that one. Zeka in a bit of trouble here himself. Gets ulted down. Doran with the follow-up, and they do knock down and take out Zeka.
This won't be without a cost, though, as Zeus is unanswered here in the top lane with Doran's teleport, and it looks like first brick will likely go over here as a result with the Grubs, the Boilings here, over to HLE. They can buy enough space for Zeus to get the majority of this turret. Looks like he's not quite going to get it off of this wave, but still a lot of value on the other side. But this play aggressively from Keria does end up working out. To get that kill, they get the follow-up there with Doran joining with all that linked up CC. Keria. Okay, it's going to be fine. We do have the Dragon spawn now.
Yeah, a lot of ults on cooldowns, and this is a game where the ult budget is insane. There's so many powerful ultimates you want to have for fights, so T1 just seemed not to be interested with quickness, paranoia, with the Glacial Tomb down. I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's just going to be 1-for-1 in terms of those dragons, and it's going to be an Ocean Soul, which, you know, last game we kind of talked about the sustain. There is champions like the Ambessa and the Rek'Sai who in the longer fights will get a benefit, but with how explosive these comps are, this just feels like a non-factor.
Hayes, he's going to get hand shook as finally the charm comes out, and, you know, just running into so many bits of CC, you only have one spell shield.
I mean, I get the idea of, I'll outplay this Ahri because all I got to do is spell shield the charm and I've got more DPS, but, you know, there wasn't anybody else nearby, so very bizarre. This is back to the earlier play where Keria is able to set up the Nocturnal. They get the charm here. Pays able to do a lot of the damage. He does end up getting caught himself here forward, but because they can commit this into a further play on the Zeka, as you'll see the TP come through from Doran. They know Zeka's so deep here that they have the CC with Faker. You can get over the wall here with the flash, press R, and the Ambessa R will follow. So that was pretty successful, but here you've got a Nocturne nearby, but that's all you got, right? It feels, again, like another really forced play here for T1.
I'm not even sure what the play is for. From Pays specifically, just kind of walking up and auto-attacking Zeka, but not too much value.
Yeah, he doesn't get punished at all if it's only Zeka, and I saw that the other two members of HLE were in mid lane where there wasn't any vision. You know, generally you see like at least a ward in the middle of the lane, so maybe he's like, oh, I can do a little bit of damage, punish Zeka here, but if anyone else is there, he just dies.
We call them high-risk, low-reward plays.
Yeah.
So,
not worth.
Not worth.
Hashtag.
He still has the only gold lead here for T1, as Deus maybe collapsed on.
Now we got the Paranoia coming in, and a bunch of damage already into the Rek'Sai, and you're not really going to be able to sustain out of this, although you can go through many tunnels, as now we got a TP coming in, and he gets away by the... Wow.
Hair of his chinny chin chin Valdez.
Exactly.
Skin of his teeth.
I was stuck in between the two of them, and I opted for neither.
Well, I'm glad we were able to cover both ends of that one, but this is horrible for T1. They committed so much. Faker's a little bit late, and now Doran's going to get some Constellation plate value on the bottom side, but the Herald will go over to Hanwha Life, who have triple grubs again in this second game.
And T1 just keep making these attempts, these proactive plays, and it's just... the targets on the other side are so hard to pin down. I mean, they committed early to this composition of having this level of dive and playing into a Rek'Sai here. It feels like a done deal with how low Zeus gets, but then taking the second tunnel and immediately going for the TP, and the damage just isn't quite there from Ona on the other side.
와, 진짜 얇았네. 네, 탭했다. 나패드.
He is not happy with that, as we are going very deep in mid lane. What is going on here? And that's going to be the turret going down as a massive hostile takeover gets tons of value for Delight. But yeah, this time it's kind of forced from the side of HLE. It looks like they're going to get away with it, as they do take down the mid turret and only trade junglers.
Yeah, it's 1-for-1, but they get the turret, and I think that the reason why they think they can make this play is because they've got the Herald, right? They've got Guma here. So there isn't a great target to punish when you do commit this heavily. If you get the turret, you feel fairly safe. Kanavi, I don't think needed to force this, but it does guarantee them the turret. Yeah, I think they still get the pick and exchange.
Kanavi was buffering the Lissandra ult, so he had to ult the target and didn't really have a choice, so he had to go deeper. I think HLE did a good job of translating the play, but it kind of shows that thing with the Vi where if you get CC chained, your usual safety of just dashing out doesn't work anymore. And Kanavi goes, oh, I guess I just have to ult in the tower. Nothing can be done about this situation.
Oh well.
Classic Kanavi. That's where he wants to be. That's his home.
Any excuse.
And he's going to enjoy that one. He's still enjoying a lead over Owner after the way that the early game did pan out. And, you know, this isn't a back-breaking lead. This is still playable for the side of T1 as now they're trying to dive onto Zeus once again. He doesn't have TP this time, but he is going to ult into 3 people and immediately just get feared down and taken out. So Faker will enjoy some extra gold.
That was pretty close, but I like how they dragged him outside of the tower and made sure that when the ult came out, he was clear of it, because I thought that could have been a situation where Zeus escaped, but a good punish there. And T1, we've seen so many attempts this game. A lot of misses, but they are getting some hits now.
Now there's going to be a turret in exchange, but it's a turret for turret plus the kill onto Zeus. We're out of first brick territory, so the fact that HLE get it first doesn't necessarily matter. I like that they're giving Paze the money, though. Paze needs the money. He needs to be the scaling late game win condition here. Xayah scales really well, too, and it's Guma Xayah. So we're all very horrified of that, but this wave clear that the Sivert can provide is going to be so helpful for objective setups later on. Speaking of, you have Hanwha Life Esports starting this Dragon first. Faker no ult, but it is coming up fairly soon. But I think Hanwha should have this one on lock. Paze coming over, though. I think they have enough damage to rush this down and get out.
Yeah, no paranoia, and I mean, Owner's miles away, but even if he was there, I think it's so much for T1 about those big budget ultimates. He might get caught out here.
Just backing on a ward, as that's going to be the spell shield taken out. And another Spirit Rush, and he's just kind of being walked along here. Owner saying, well, there's no real reason for me to try to flash. Might as well just turn onto Zeka and die. And that's exactly what he does.
It's been a bit of a weird game from Owner. I feel like a lot of mistakes in this one, considering the level that his Nocturne is usually at, the consistency we've seen from this pick. This game has not been living up to that standard.
Keria will also need to leave this vicinity with Kanavi having ult there. And no teammates were nearby. Hanwha Life Esports didn't have full information, but yeah, this game has been quite bizarre with some of the overextensions. Maybe a trap could be set here, but I don't think T1 have enough members.
They're going to throw an ult into Kanavi. I mean, on the Vi, with the escape, there's really no follow-up. But now Doran does come in. The hostile takeover right in the choke, though. And now HLE on the charge here as the TP does come in from Zeus and T1 back away.
A lot burnt from HLE there, so good from T1 to bait that out and disengage again. And not get caught up in the hostile takeover. It's very easy with this composition just to go all in and not have a backup plan.
Baron's up in 30, but I don't think it's anything that we'll be fighting for a while here in this game state. It's only a 1.5 thousand gold lead here for HLE. They have been the ones who have been able to catch T1. They have the kill lead in this game. It's still a very close one. And even though T1 were able to get a lot of resources out of HLE there, I don't think there's an easy punish objective right now for them to utilize at the moment. Keria is going to get some vision set up here. They have a lot of vision on the top side of the map. That's where a lot of the vision war has been as of late. For T1, still just waiting for Paze to get his third item online here. We're getting closer and closer to it. He has 1,000 gold, the advantage over Gumayushi. He's just going to park in mid, clear these waves, and get all the money he can find on the Rift.
That's really all that's going on in this game with the 280 carries just sitting mid.
I don't think Faker does any damage to Zeus, like actually.
Yeah, mostly just negative damage. I think the only people that can really deal damage to him are Doran and Paze. I think even Owner at this point doesn't really do a whole lot. At least was able to pick up his second item. But they need a lot of time with Zeus regardless, with multiple members, if they're going to be able to take him down again. He's definitely been kind of the butt of many a gank, but hasn't always been successful, as now maybe it's Doran's turn. Our poor top laners.
I'd like to see for the rest of this game, I don't mean in every situation, but T1 using their dive tools defensively to peel for Paze so that they can just cut through those health bars, keep him alive. Not trying to necessarily look for backline play, because the turn and the counter engage from HLE is so incredibly strong. Not to mention they have their own defensive Renata ultimate. I think T1 need to change their tune a little bit here and just play through front to back with this composition, especially with the lead that HLE have right now in this game. Gold lead is small, but the control over the map is pretty immaculate here. I mean, look at the vision on the bottom side of the map where Doran is trying to push up into this turret.
Also, credit to HLE there. One of the things I was talking about is how Kanavi and Delight could be the primary targets to pick off, but they're moving as a trio and just slowly moving that vision forward, making sure to check these brushes, only moving up when they have enough members, where they feel strong, they're ready for a fight. Because T1, we're setting a trap there in that banana brush, and we're looking for, I mean, anyone really to approach, but don't find a target and have to back away. And you were talking about the vision on the bot side, vision on the top side also in favor of HLE now because they were able to push them out there. HLE's control spreading across the whole of the Rift right now.
If you try to make a aggressive dive happen and try to catch HLE members when you don't have the full information, what will likely happen, or what has continued to happen in this game, is they will have more members than you thought. They will turn, and they will turn it around on you and then take an objective. We're looking for potentially soul point here for HLE in 30 seconds time if they're going to fight for this dragon. You see Doran back in Carrier, TPing back in as Faker, looks for an angle.
Trying to get Guma here. He's just immediately going to get Mikhail's. So as long as Delight stands next to the Xayah, you don't even get his flash, his Featherstorm, his Ghost, nothing. Just one Mikhail's.
And I think that ult,
The pick potential of T1.
grabbing that Mikhail's feels like it's something, but maybe using that ult onto a Vi who's trying to dive your backline, your Pays, might have been better off here on this dragon. Instead, they just get a Mikhail's out of it. Faker's now ultless for this really important team fight. Unless they could slow it down here somehow. This looks like it's HLE's.
Yeah, still not available for a while. It's not the Imperial mandate, Lissandra. Cooldown's quite long, and I think the ult's not going to be there before the dragon's taken.
Just trying to TP into this one as the Rek'Sai, as now they're looking for the turn, is once again gonna shut down Faker with the flash and the charm. Used in tandem, as now looking for a bit more. Zeka trying to get those, max range charm is gonna come in, but that is onto a Rek'Sai. They take down the Lissandra, they get the dragon, but look at where they're going. They're heading up towards the Baron.
They only used 2 ultimates to get that kill. And so there's still ways to lock Pays down if T1 want to challenge, but I think it's pretty risky to try to start Baron here now as HLE.
Yeah.
They'll just be happy with the gold they got and the dragon that comes in tow.
I think into a Sivir, into the Ambessa, and the fact that Lissandra has TP and ult now available is too risky. But here, Faker tries to Rocket Belt out of the way of the charm, doesn't flash, and doesn't have ult to self full, although I think if you self ult there, you're just dead anyway. But a great pick from Zeka, who's been on fire on this Ahri, despite it being typically a counter matchup.
Yeah. Faker's put himself in harm's way a little bit as his vision toggle always nervous.
Saw them for a moment in the jungle before they toggled the vision. And we have Ahri and Vi making their way down here. As even a spare rush into the brush, they want to make sure that Doran cannot TP out of this one as he tries to go for the public execution, but the CC chain is there, and 400 gold goes into the pockets of Kanavi.
And there's no cross map. There's no cross map target for T1 to even hit. Look at where Zeus is. He's just hanging out in the mid trio. There's no outer turret, so it's not like T1 could push a turret here. He's just going to be able to go up and catch the wave. This is a zero-sum game for T1 right now. They lose something on the other side of the map from where their focus is, and they gain nothing. They can't start Baron. And again, we're just kind of watching Pays try to hard farm his way to that IE. Goldie has shrunk.
Yeah,
Against straws.
pretty good. The thing is, if you only use Paranoia with no other follow-up, if you only use the Glacial Tomb with no other follow-up, you're not going to kill anyone.
But I feel like this is them trading resources. So they use Glacial Tomb to get the kills. They use Paranoia to get the Slay Call. The problem is, this still, I think HLE are fine with this. They still have other tools. They still have Flash and Gumayushi. They now have the Mikhail's back again. And your Paranoia is down. You can see the thought process of what they're going for, but in practice, HLE are still the ones with control, and you're not burning cooldowns with long enough off a cooldown to really make an impact.
Yeah, also the timing, I'm not really sure how they're going to force a fight at this moment, because neither team really has Baron pressure.
The IE is done for Gumayushi, but it is still a ways away here for Pays, it looks like, and that's the real break point for the Sivir. Obviously, the Xayah utilizes the IE incredibly well too, but there's a lot of tools to keep Pays alive, and he does a lot of damage with Ricochet, etc. He beats Sivir. in this a little bit less safe, but safe in a different way because of the spell shield than this Xayah. Shadow Flame picked up here for Zeka, also a big spike. And we are getting to the point, I think, with the control over the map that HLE have, plus the IE, plus the Shadow Flame, the Rek'Sai, who's got side lane control. You can start a Baron soon. I think it will be soon where they look to start and turn. And T1 are going to have to be ready. There's the Infinity Edge for Pays now, the critical juncture
for Faker. So the spikes on both sides, and both of them kind of posturing. HLE trying to get aggressive control of the jungle here.
And this time, I mean, you're going to have follow-up. Aguma just fancy feet. He is going to dodge everything, and now coming in from the bottom side is Zeka. But now Guma frontlining is immediately charmed, flashes away. The bailout is there, but he does not get the reset. 2 kills goes the way of Pays, and 1 overextension. Immediately Pays will put you in the grave. Delight goes down. That is the quadra kill.
They're looking to end,
and they're looking to push mid.
And it's still 30 seconds on these death timers. I don't think they can end the game off of this one, but they certainly should be able to get a turret and Baron at least. And the Baron will lead to so much more here. Massive gold swing goes to T1. And Guma initially, with the sidestep, you're like, okay, he doesn't need Mikhail, doesn't need flash, he doesn't need ult, because he's just going to dodge this. And then he just walks straight in. Like to a Rakan. He just wanted to visit Keria, his old bot laner, but the follow-up CC is there. It's too sticky. I like Kanavi's attempt to try to get the reset for the bailout, but it was just a complete collapse here for HLE. Into this Sivir that is just gonna ricochet you to death.
Yeah, Pays was perfect in this fight, just constantly getting the damage down, the ricochets between Gumushi and Delight, who was trying to peel for him, and then just stepped up at the right time, free hitting for the whole fight.
Uh-oh.
TP coming in. This is
the TP mistakes we have seen in the last couple of weeks at LCK. It is a Rek'Sai though, and they're going to be looking for the Ocean Soul. So T1 have to actually pull off of that and move over towards that Ocean Drake. There's maybe a little bit of a setup here on the objective. T1 waiting in the brush. There it is. The charm gonna catch 2, and immediately down goes Guma. And the follow-up is there as they take out Kanavi as well. HLE just not respecting the engaged potential of this Rakan multiple times in a row. As Delight should be okay, but that's going to be the Drake. And T1 are exploding in this gold lead.
2 fights in a row. It's Keria who finds Guma, Rakan who finds Xayah, and T1 who are finding success in this game. A 6,000 goal lead now in a game which for so much of it they were behind.
Whoa.
Now looking for more.
Yeah, nice timing there from Faker. I'm not sure if they should really be going in for this kind of play, but Pays is so powerful. They're trying to take him out with the Rek'Sai ult. It's not quite going to work, as the bailout not going to help out either, and T1 are just compounding their gold. Mistake after mistake, engage after engage. They keep baiting HLE into these fights.
They're desyncing the death timers here. Now Guma's back, but there's no Zeus, and they can easily retreat here with the inhibitor down. And Keria, with the Pays ultimate that comes up in this fight, are able to both set up this engage here for Keria, but then follow up so easily. And Guma does not have the tools to escape. Again is burst down. And it's these snap calls from Keria that have brought them back. It's moments like these, which is why we said earlier, Keria does often feel like the main character for this roster, sitting at 100% kill participation here in this second game. And even though this looks like it might be going a little bit too deep, Pays has GA. He has so much damage, and there's no follow-up, there's no damage. The Rek'Sai is a big health bar, but eventually it'll be taken out. Guma respawns, but there's no tank, and down goes the inhibitor.
It just reminds me of original Rakan, when there was no delay between ulting and using your other abilities, how little you could respond to it. And Keria just camping in the brush that they had control warded, so he gets to essentially play original Rakan when he shows up after channeling the ult beforehand. Such an effective tool, able to catch out any carry who has that ultimate that grants so much safety. And now a 9,000 gold lead. GA on Pays, he's such a hard target to deal with.
Yeah, now they can just use the paranoia, not for diving the Xayah, not for trading ultimate cooldowns, just for zoning, as they will be able to pick up this top inhibitor, no doubt. Zeka, you know, he's trying to look for something. I think the window is kind of past here for HLE, especially down this much gold, obviously, but the Sivir's online, and you don't have any pressure to try to catch her. There's just way too many peel tools. Pays is playing Sivir in the first place. you're never going to be in a spot where you can actually kill him and then go on to win the team fight. You'll just go way too deep.
We can talk about Team Gold we won, but look at the 80 carry goal difference. That is just insane.
And it happened in what felt like an instant, right? The gold lead was biggest for FaZe in the early game, but it shrunk down to like 380, something like that. I think at its smallest, and then he picks up a Quadra, is unlocked on the map. They get all these structures. He gets funneled even more gold. Now he buys an arm guard. He's like, look, if I die, my team has no damage, but I'm not going to die. I've got GA, I've got an arm guard, I don't care. It's like old stopwatch days, except way more expensive.
Don't remind me,
I think
Wolf.
also this is really signaling they think this next fight is just going to be game over. And at this point,
it will be.
I think it will too.
And it's just small punches. Kanavi thinks he can get his jungle.
He should be okay. He reads the pressure. But yeah, it's just so crazy. I talked about it in game 1 where it's like HLE, you make one mistake, T1 threaten a game victory. Same thing here, but it doesn't look like T1 are going to let go of the comeback they've gotten this one. And it's more than a comeback now. I mean, they're just super far ahead. And HLE playing RE5 from this position, not really enviable.
I mean, if they get this third inhibitor, which it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get, but if they were able to get the third inhibitor, they could just say, well, we'll do Baron, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can TP to end with double super minions going down the waves, and then if you get Baron with 3 inhibitors, you just win the game. If they want to try to threaten some sort of Ocean Soul, you just trade the objectives because they're synced up in spawn timer here, albeit about 7 seconds the difference between these two. But because they have the Sivir wave clear as well to constantly gain prio plus double inhibitor, T1 can kind of take whatever they want on this map right now. And I don't think that HLE could be the ones who are proactive to make a play. It's got to be like a great Delight ult used defensively, or Guma gets some crazy feathers pull back, or Zeka's able to find an angle after Spell Shield is down for FaZe. Some sort of miracle here is what HLE need. And this isn't it.
Oh no, Kanavi, not like this. Well, looks like it'll be exactly like that, actually.
Carrier?
Down it goes. They're going very deep. The angle here from Carrier as he just is able to bully his former 80 carry in the bush. The follow-up with the public execution onto Delight. As now they're trying to take out Alessandra. Not a great spot here. Already a triple for FaZe, as there is still the potential for a penta, but I don't think he's even thinking about that at that point. As you can see that HLE are not going to give it to him either. T1 just looking to push down mid and end this game in their favor. As they are going to flash out a carrier. They do get the kill, but T1 do not care at all about that. Just trying to stop the backs here and end this game.
Yeah, FaZe will just push down the Nexus at this point. T1, game 1 was close with their comeback. Game 2, their comeback is enough. And the series will be equalized at 1-1.
Carrier keeps his 15 out of 15, 100% kill participation on the Recon. And they were able to turn this game around through some miracle catches. That catch onto Guma after he had the sidestep onto Doran's ult felt like the first domino, and everything just fell apart from there. And it's 2 games in a row where Hanwha Life Esports had massive control and T1 had a big sweeping comeback. They couldn't stick the landing in game 1, but in game 2 they do. And now you start to wonder, if you're a Hanwha fan, we were so close to being 0-2 in this situation. Sure, we're 1-1, but it's a worrying, dangerous trend how these games are looking.
But also, when I look at these 2 games, both of them have been decided by picks, by snap engages, by supports, not on enchanters that we've seen so much, but this game of Rakan, last game of Camille, feels like both Carry and Delight seeing angles to carry in this series, and we all know Carrier loves to carry when he's in the support role.
The difference in 80 carry damage here is so insane because with Guma, he had a deficit, but when his team had a lead, they weren't fighting. And then all of a sudden, FaZe is getting a quadra kill. He's fighting all the time.
Yeah, well, that's how they got that lead. Overstepping just a bit too much there in the mid lane, HLE, and immediately T1 clamp down and punish. They balloon into a massive gold lead and take down game number 2 to tie up the series, which is now on our hands 1-1 as we head into the break.
아이고 이거.
잡아.
있어. 아이고.
파이 노플.
가라. 야트 공 있다. 야트 공.
괜찮아.
위에 봐줘. 안 빼고.
위에. 나 가했어.
나. 위에 봐줘.
위에 좋은데, 위에 좋은데.
칼고. 펜타네.
예, 알겠어.
펜타래.
펜타 확인.
미드로 가자 일단. 타이건
내가 봐줄게.
펜타기네 그러면 와봐.
야, 진짜로? 야,
수원아 와봐.
나 아리 잡자.
아씨. 아예. 미드가. 끝났어.
게임 끝났어.
엑셀 잡으면 내가 여기 양념 쳐놓을게.
잡을게.
쫄깃다 들어. 펜타 안 돼. 안 돼서 확인. 살리기 해줘.
야, 잡자.
내가 죽을 것 같은데? 끝낼게요 그냥. 진짜로?
나 왔거든.
본진 끝나? 보도기만 해줘. 끝났어. 본진 끝나. 나이스. 어떻게 이겼냐? 너가 잘했어. 나 있다.
다행이다.
His play, Vladimir. But see what this iteration of Hana looks like as we get deeper into one of the most important best of fives of the year here for them.
Yeah, it's a big one. You want to make it to MSI first and foremost. You want to get it done in the first best of 5. You don't want to have what happened last year happen again. You want to get the first seed. There's so many things that you gain by winning this one best of 5. But now it's chopped down to a best of 3 with a game going apiece to either side.
And I think the pressure really is on HLE with how both games have started with them being in a really strong position, then kind of thrown away. And as much as they salvaged game 1, game 2 wasn't that. And also with the context of last year, a road to MSI, and HLE just trying to make it to their first. So Ban's going to come in quick and fast here. It's HLE again on the first pick side, so going for the same bans.
Maybe a Nar ban again.
Could
or
just be
T1.
if we're going to have the same bans as the previous game.
Definitely have to go in a very different direction with the first pick, if that is going to be the case. It is. Last time we had the Vi. This time, Kanavi looking for Lee Sin, a very high priority jungle right now, to be taken right away. But this does leave a lot of different bottom duos here for T1 to take.
Also,
Ash Seraphine.
in terms of pairing, we often see Lee Sin paired with Ryze or Annie. Ryze obviously already taken away by Fearless. I wonder if T1 seeks to deny the Annie pairing, that point and click CC, if they're going to give a chance for HD to secure it. They're immediately going to snap up the Neferi though, a pick that since the Cyclo Sword introduction has really rocketed in terms of priority. And we'll see if T1 are going to take away that Annie that we see paired with Lee Sin so often.
Yeah, or do something completely different and take like an early Lulu that we've seen paired with Neferi sometimes. Try to set up that combo with a scaling 80 carry for days. Could be an alternative. The Annie feels like it's a glaring, obvious choice here and very safe. But with no Gnar and no Vayne, the Renekton stocks are also quite high here for Doran, and that's where they'll send us.
I think it's pretty interesting. I like where you guys were going with the Annie or the Lulu, but just once again trying to get some top picks for Doran. Obviously, some tanks still available,
That
but
makes
if you
sense
force
because
Zeus onto a tank,
Top laner, so he would have top picks.
Cassiopeia was left open, by the way,
Speaking
guys.
of top picks in the mid lane, that's a high tier one that's finally going to go over here. And we are looking like we're going to lock our solo lanes, our top half, in this first phase again here. Set is not a pick we have seen in a very long time.
That's not a champ in the LCK.
That's not a champ in the LCK either, but I bet you we got at least 2 spacers who are very excited to see it, and was a pick that decimated the LCK at first stand.
So, yeah, this can be played top or support. Has as a flex. I do feel like the Cassiopeia pairing with the Lee Sin doesn't inspire the most joy, but I think the theory here is into Neferi and Renekton has a lot of value. That Miasma are going to be incredibly powerful. And I also feel like the Miasma would do pretty well into Silas as well. They end up going for the Galio. I just feel like the value of the Shen Cassiopeia is kind of going up and up into triple melee already.
I don't like this Galio pick because I think you need some specific champions to be empowered by Galio in order to make this pick that's so low damage worth it. And because we're doing this right before the second banning phase, I think some of those scaling options here for Pays are going to be removed. And now you have to worry about like Mel Shen, you know, in the bottom lane as a potential duo that you'll be running into. So banning the Senna here initially, as Guma's been one of the only players to play it here in Korea.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Senna, but Senna Shen is definitely a combo that we could see.
Feels
So
like-
really giving credence to that Shen to be bought.
Feels like last game, T1 heavily committed to like dive in their first 3 picks. At this game, they heavily committed to like, you know, diving with their first 3 picks with the fact they have this sort of melee-based composition. So I'm interested to see what they pair up for it, especially since a lot of tools are being whittled away in terms of what they can pair with a composition. Something you mentioned last draft was the Jinx, kind of on top as that long-range option for follow-up. I wonder if that ends up getting a look in, although we haven't really seen any Jinx recently. Nautilus going to come through as a denial, so...
Used to be a Guma classic, you know, but it's really just out of the meta so heavily right now. The Lulu still feels viable, you know, like now you have the Lulu Yunara angle where you can empower the Renekton, you can empower the Fury with the wild growth, but also keep your Yunara in a safe spot. I know that Yunara is not everyone's favorite AD carry right now because it has felt very risky and has been punished a lot here in the LCK and now Road to MSI, but I think that might be the best bet here for T1 at this point.
I feel like it could be like Jinna MF, though. They end up going for the Milio, so
that mean?
hinting at a Lucian Milio, but
Maybe
option
Milio
to
Jinx,
pivot,
though?
Milio Jinx, it's possible. Keeping our options open. Now, obviously, HLE can flex the Shen down to support, but can keep the options open, and it looks like they might end up just going toward Ashe Seraphine in a situation and putting the Shen in the top lane. Or
That's not
Lulu.
Ashe.
Ogma for Guma. That is not a pick I associate with him at
Hog
all.
Lulu Shen. Oh, man.
It's G2!
They're here at our road to MSI. What are they doing here? And why did they summon for HLE?
It's so incredibly powerful. And if you go for the Lucian pick here, you were just so heavily outscaled, and there's so many tools to stop you from bursting the target. I don't think you could do it. I don't think you could run that here. I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, you're playing this short-ranged melee composition into Shen, Cassiopeia, Cog Lulu, and just icing on the cake is Lee Sin Kick has tremendous value at Peel. You have these carries who they don't care how many bulky champions you have. They just have so much damage to cut through them. I think HLE really have to mis-execute if they're going to get punished in this one. It's up to T1 to be super proactive, get the ball rolling, and then not misstep. We've seen HLE leading the charge every game so far, but I think they are in such a comfortable position in this Game 3.
I mean, the drafts have just been so good for HLE, but it almost feels like it's been tiered. Game 1, they had a small advantage. Game 2, we felt like they had a larger one, and then Game 3 here. If you went Jinx, you know, you would have had maybe a fighting chance for some of the ideas we were talking about, but that's just not what we see. We don't see that type of innovation in the best of 5 like this. You stick to what the plan was, but when Gumayushi locks Kog'Maw and they throw a wrench into the gears of all your plans and you stick to the plan, sometimes it can really, really backfire. And I think my expectation is it likely will in this game. We'll have to see what happens when we get onto the Rift. Faker, an incredible Galio player. I just don't know if this draft was calling for that.
I also feel like when you're playing into Cog, Lulu, and Cassiopeia, you know, we've seen Game 1 and 2 defined by these snap engages, but you don't even have that with this composition. Your engage is Neferi goes in or Renekton goes in, and then you follow up with Galio, but it's not super responsive. There's definite opportunity to peel away from that, so hard test for T1.
It's a big game here to see who's going to take the lead in the series for T1 versus HLE. Alrighty, game number 3 on the cards. And so far, it does feel like it's been all over the place. There have been moments where there have been obvious mistakes made, and then the opposing team would immediately capitalize and go on to get a massive swing in their direction. So, you know, we had a moment in the middle of that game where everything was quieted down. HLE hadn't overextended yet. They were just kind of playing well from ahead, and things were looking good. And immediately, our hopes were crushed as they push too deep. And yeah, we all know what happens next. T1 tie up the series. So interested to see where we go from here, if the teams kind of quiet down a little bit as they settle into this best of 5.
I do think there is a lot of power in the early game for T1 in the bottom and
Not a great
in the bottom and top lanes, not the mid lane. And I wasn't saying that because Faker went for a taunt and then decided that he was likely going to die if he did do that.
Just emphasizing your point.
Yeah. So let's see if this bottom lane can go well here for FaZe and carry it. If they can generate a lead there, it's not a default free win lane, especially into the Lulu with this combo, but it is quite potent, and if there's some jungle attention down there, they can pull ahead. And obviously the Renekton, they early levels into the Shen, is going to have a much better time. Okay.
That's how the trade is supposed to look. Dodging quite a lot. Owner, he's like, huh, what's going on over here?
Blink and you'll miss it. Did he see something? I don't know. But his Krugs are gone, and Kanavi continuing to be a bit of a menace here. He has Prio in mid and top, so he can play this out 1v1.
Yeah, just 1v1 so far. Kanavi kind of bleeding out, though. Eventually is going to have to hop over to Zeka. Gets pretty low, but not really any danger of dying.
You see, one of the issues with playing out 1v1 is that all the dogs in the way just block the Sonic Wave. And Kanavi is now so low that he's in danger of being invaded himself.
And now he is just going to have to find his way out of here with the Blast Cone. Owner's trying to go over the wall. Very close there. Valdez's favorite. Does get away. He's going to stick to the Krugs.
I think this was such an unforced error because you'd gotten the Krugs, you'd gotten out. You could have just gone back to your jungle and cleared it. And Owner's not going to cross over and challenge until you went for that heavy trade onto him.
And now it's going to start taxing top lane.
Kanavi getting pretty low here as the flash comes in, but it's not going to land. And once again, Owner finds himself in the same spot as game number 2, this time a little bit earlier, and the same result. First blood goes over to Kanavi. Meanwhile, Faker, no flash, but he is able to run away from Zeka's cast.
Zeka actually flashed on him there, so committing that cooldown and try and chase down Faker, but doesn't find the kill. Weird back and forth between the junglers. I feel like Kanavi overstepped and was getting punished for it, and then Owner, would you believe, overstepped.
On the enemy Krugs? Again?
Who's the real Krug Lord here? Like, it's Doran. He's not even part of any of this.
Yeah,
I think maybe it was Owner was thinking back to last MSI, and he just remembers Krugs were really important. Krugs were the defining factor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, flashing, it doesn't really make sense. You don't have. I think the damage there hit. The shield is still out, and then Zeus he's walked out of top lane. Doran probably told him already. You know, like he's coming. By the way, maybe that's why he flashed. He's like, they're gonna catch me no matter what. I got to flash to try to get this kill so I can at least get something back. But
we're back.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that. The theory, I was going to say.
Oh,
no.
Taunt underneath the turret. Doran taking a huge amount of damage, but he's got enough fury built up, it looks like. Should be okay.
I don't know.
He's going back in. And Doran is able to hit level 6 as well, so he is totally fine.
Level 6 was closer than I thought there for Doran. I thought Zeus had a larger advantage in experience, so he will be fine with Dominus there. Nothing that Zeus can do. Fight a cool taunt under turret before. Raiding pattern here, good. I was going to mention before we had some more things happen that were kind of going to this point, in that I think you can really feel the tension in the players in the series. We're seeing a lot of mistakes. I don't want to call it big choking or anything like that, but we're definitely seeing some rough around the edges gameplay here from both squads. I think the stakes are so incredibly high. Owner going to look for a bit of a steal away here potentially. Does not have flash, so I think he's going to have to leave.
Yeah, he's alone. That is Cassiopeia. You must leave the pit.
Yeah. I mean, the Fury champion who's so mobile, so hard to pin down, you can kind of play so recklessly as a result, but if there's ever a comp to hold you accountable, this is it.
Yeah. So many times we saw picks early on when our pros were still dabbling and beginning to understand what the pick does into stuff like TF.
We gets it.
This time, Owner's Invade actually does something. As now the Polymorph is coming in, and FaZe, as we expected, is definitely struggling here.
Well, initially there were no jungle
delay.
resources given, right? Like he went Doran's Helm start in this matchup, which is, you know, quite weird, quite unusual actually for Illusion to start, and then just never got any jungle attention, never was able to break out of the lane, and has just kind of always been a little bit behind the 8-ball here. And so as a result, like there's a heavy gold lead, or a gold lead, but also CS lead that is the gold lead here for Gumayusi. And you picked Illusion. It was the final pick. It was the counter pick.
I just feel like with how this game has gone so far, it's still early days, but the fact that HLE already have that 1,000 gold lead, have a dragon in pocket, they're feeling pretty great with the early progression. And now having the Channel as well is just a constant looming threat. We often say that with things like a Nocturne ultimate or Galio ultimate, but Shen is really just so much more responsive in the fact that you can just be anywhere and provide that shield immediately. Puts so much more pressure on T1 to get their plays right when they go for them.
Yeah, we've seen some crazy Shen shields as well, especially later on in the game. He comes in and it's like the guy just TP'd into the fight plus more. It's like kind of crazy what he can provide. So we've seen Shen plus Kog'Maw comps in the past. And
yeah, I saw
you
one
guys are going to see it.
At a
More.
first stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went really well for that team.
It did. Nice dodge here from Faker. We do have Kanavi, though, on the chase. No more taunts is coming in. The kick is there! And one more Fang.
Faker's
put in the back of Faker.
On the player cam there as well.
He looks angry.
And like, I'm not sure what Faker was trying to set up there. I mean, but even without the information, if he had the information, he would have never gone for it. But even if he knew there wasn't anybody there, I'm not sure if that trade he was looking for there was going to be great. I mean, obviously no one was really nearby to help him out. He just kind of goes in and gives HLE an opportunity.
Oh, it's this game again.
Yeah, it's this game.
The Raptors, the Krugs. I think Owner got one of those little
we got
guys.
the big one this time. So.
Yeah. Owner got like 8 gold, it looked like. Here comes Faker. As it really does feel like neither of these teams are backing down from the fight. T1 almost trying to play HLE at their own aggression game.
I mean, in the 1v1, Kanavi's is such a disadvantage. You just throwing the Sonic Wave out, it kills a single doggo. Like, okay.
FaZe is coming to swamp up top side here, but Doran doesn't have TP and Faker doesn't have TP, so there's going to be a lot of minions lost in the bottom lane to get these
They're coming heavily.
these grubs. And they're going to try to get some plate gold here. Maybe kill Zeus? Interesting plan here. Will come at a heavy cost if it does not work.
Well, here comes Kanavi. He says, I'm going to try to take one of these with me. Going for the trade into Owner. There's the Shen shield as the kick comes in. Owner in a bit of trouble. The Q is not going to land. And Owner does get away. These guys are just skill checking each other over and over again.
But look at the bottom lane. I mentioned before, no answer here. Had Guma known FaZe was rotating up and he stayed, this turret would be gone already. He went for a back, but still gets back here faster. And this is a Kog'Maw getting free money, and FaZe got nothing for that rotation up to the top side. They didn't get the kill, they didn't get the turret, and Guma is just free farming. He is 750 gold ahead.
They got 2 grubs.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Galio gets to hit a turret, man. Who's going to remember that moment?
Once again, not worth. But again, it's a situation where HLE are getting a bit of a incremental lead early on in the game. But this time they have, you know, Kog'Maw and Cassiopeia with lots of backup. So, you know, as long as they don't make any too big of a mistake. Also, it's not carry on Rakan with Paranoia backup for his engages. You know, if you think about the engage of T1, it's like
Yeah.
Galio?
100%. That was, I mean, flash from Faker just to get away. But that was so much of Game 1 and Game 2 defined by these snap engages. We saw those picks from the supports. It's not them for T1 in particular. It's either Galio or Ona or Doran, and they're not primary engage champions. I mean, Ona can be, but normally we had like the Lulu follow-up to make it really work.
This Doran gank is not going to work. They're going to try to turn into a dragon take, but Shen, no ult, but has TP.
It's just going to come down to a flip, and it does go the way of Honor. This Kanavi looked like he was a bit early on that one.
Did it go to 1 HP? I thought it...
It was very close.
I guess I've seen the replay. It looked like it went to 1 HP. It was super close. And Kanavi trying to get it with the execute, with the recast on the Sonic Wave. Doesn't quite land it. Now they're Faker in trouble.
Yeah, Faker's in a lot of trouble. No flash here, no help either, as his jungler is doing, you guessed it, the Krugs. This time on the other side, he is going to try to jump away, dies in midair. And yeah, he's not having a lot of fun here on this Galio.
No, not really, and we kind of predicted that from the draft. It's a pretty surprising draft here for T1, as, and again, here just trying to clear the wave as soon as possible, steps up too far. Doesn't have his flash anymore. Has just a little bit of greed after what was a successful steal on the dragon. And it's just, you know, it's a rough situation all around. I mean, I feel like history has repeated itself. And mind you, the two of you guys weren't there with me and Atlas, but we just commentated a similar type of series with T+ and KT, where it just kept being massive gold leads and then comebacks. T1 couldn't complete the comeback in game 1. They did it in game 2, and they want to go up to match point. They're going to have to do it again in game 3, where Honor Life Esports has once again dominated the early. But the difference in comps, as you already pointed out, is so different this time. Like,
yeah.
It's definitely an HLE late game comp with I mean, they couldn't have more tools to use their scaling composition.
I think for T1, you need to start finding picks, numbers advantages, or coming from creative angles. It's tricky because you're into a Shen, but if you have the burst available, you can burst through the shield before he arrives. But in a straight 5v5, there's so much structure to HLE's composition, it's going to make it hard to push through.
Doran's in a lot of trouble, actually.
Ow.
He is going to be okay just because Zeka doesn't want to dive. But, you know, if this were solo queue, probably Zeka could get in there and get a solo kill, or at least force a Dominus. But either way, just going to push him off the wave.
Hit his TP. Faker has to go bottom lane here to catch this wave. And it's Honor Life Esports is moving T1 around the map with the fact that their Shen has teleport and his ultimate. They're always going to have man advantage. Galio doesn't have ult, and even if he does, he's not actually global the way that Shen is. Shen can literally go anywhere.
Also, to me, this is one of the rough points as well, is the fact that you have this Lucian Milio, who typically, I mean, historically it's been Lucian Nami, but Lucian Milio, you want to be playing around that mid-prio, be not to challenge the enemy bot lane and force them away. But it's Paze and Carrier who are just clearing the wave on the tower. They're not able to capitalize on what has been Lucian's, one of his biggest strengths over the past few years, is that mid-game, mid-lane prio. And it's really giving such limited options to T1 right now. But hey, I mean, game 1 and 2 started pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking for a little bit of copium for sure on the side of T1, we've kind of, you know, talked a lot. Maybe Faker can get some kind of miracle engage on the Galio. Like, the game isn't over, but it's really rough when you're this far behind against Cassio and Kog'Maw. We do have an Infernal Soul this time, by the way, so not an Ocean Soul for the 3rd time in a row,
Yeah.
thankfully.
I think the thing for me is that I almost feel personally invested in this game state, because we all were hoping for a different draft from T1, and they stuck to their guns and pulled the Lucian out, and we're like, well, these are the consequences, and it's not going to get easier, and we all had different thoughts about how this one was going to go, and it's not a commentator I told you so moment, but it's a moment where we're all frustrated because we don't know what the exact way back into this game is going to be. Aguma is 0-0-0, but he is going to be a massive threat later on.
Well, one thing I'll say is that there's always a way.
There's always a way.
We've seen crazier things. We've seen big mistakes shape games, shape entire series. And HLE need to be clean, as they're going to go all in onto Alulu, who just trades with her ult, but maybe that was the whole point. Zingo's Faker trying to just zone this one away, but we have the Combat Herald already down. ZI was taken and looking for more. He's just going to turn towards mid and look to crash into mid, and might be able to get this one low enough. But either way, it's enough pressure into mid
I think this is showing a great understanding of their comp for HLE. Even though they're ahead, even though we've talked about how strong their composition is into what T1 has, their comp is great at peeling and playing defensive. Even though they felt like they had the advantage there, they don't step up and go aggressive and dive in, because that's immediately when things can start to fall apart. All they need to do is hold the line, protect the backline carries, and they'll be successful. Now they get the Herald into mid, they get the Dragon here. Patience is really paying off for them.
Yeah, well, that's the timing of this is so great because they get to use the Herald to escape, get turret, and that's prio for Dragon all at once, while T1 get nothing. And there's T1 were almost able to set up a fight, but HLE were not like, maybe we can win this without Herald. They just instantly drop the combat Herald. They instantly bail out.
And when I'll say it, right? When it was Kanavi who got in the Herald, I really thought he saw the 4-man and he was going to go for it.
Yeah,
but no.
I was worried too.
He,
They were measured.
More measured for sure.
They got what they came for. This will be actually the first turret going over to T1 here. Faker gets some alone time with it. And because HLE were unable to get that mid turret earlier, actually a little bit behind in that one, puts a dent in the gold lead. It's not about the 1,800 gold lead that's the problem. It's the fact that T1 aren't ahead. It's that they don't have tempo, it's that they don't have pressure. And FaZe needs to be in a position to actually pressure the enemy AD carry here.
Right, trying to beat Guma into something, but again, Wild Growth helping out quite a lot against that Nefiri. They are still going to get the exhaust and the flash away. Alongside of that Wild Growth, obviously Kanavi looking for the angle here, but...
That's big, though, for the side of T1 bidding. Those summoners on Guma make him a much more viable target. I think the Wild Growth was a little bit late. It didn't interrupt the ult from Owner like we saw it in the previous fight.
Yeah.
The damage seemed to come through, which put a lot more threat onto Gumayushi, so able to burn a summoner. And to be honest, those are the big openings. I think if the game plays out slowly and all the flashes are available for HLE, it becomes so hard to approach fights. But now you have a target in mind, and it is that Cogmore.
Yeah, I mean, Lulu ult can get you pretty far, but it's not a freebie. You know, it's not a get out of jail free card. If Guma makes a mistake, or if there is a punish angle, you can certainly see a lot going wrong. Those pays is sitting down pretty low on the damage in this game. Just hasn't been given any opportunity.
Gonna find Carrier here, but it's Kanavi alone. And yeah, I mean, this is a place where T1 can get value in little picks onto Guma or even onto Zeka if they're alone. What scares me is how Life Esports is team fighting. You know, we saw kind of on the Herald, even though we didn't have a team fight. You know, the idea was there where T1 were like, we can't fight into this because even if they did go all in and take out Guma, you still got to deal with Zeka. You got to deal with everybody else. And there's just two massive damage threats that are only getting more and more scary. And, you know, at least they open an option, and maybe they can follow up on the summoners of Guma. And they're certainly going to have to fight over at least a couple of dragons from now, but probably want to fight over the next one as well.
So much of the map right now on the top side is T1 controlled. They had that push into the bottom lane. They got a little bit of tempo back. You can really feel it when you look around the map, but that alone isn't going to necessarily win you team fights. It's how you use it, and how you set up to get those picks. If Faker can set up a taunt in the brush, you know, if they're able to get even one target. If they catch the Lulu, even Zeus tries to come on a flank angle, set up a taunt, they catch him. There are ways to 5v4 and be successful here. Lucian's on 2 items. The Kog'Maw is not at an insurmountable lead, even at 1,000 gold ahead here. So Life Esports still need to be respectful, because that's what we go back to in the near comeback in game 1 and then the game 2, is the disrespect ended up giving T1 an opportunity.
I think to me, the big things, if you're going to capitalize on this next dragon, which you should, because it's sole point if HLE secure it, and if you're going to capitalize on the lack of flash, getting a ward down for a TP flank is going to be really important. When you're playing into things like Cassiopeia, Lee Sin, so much easier when you can approach from multiple angles, so you're not getting kicked into your teammates. He's not playing bowling with the entire roster. And so finding an angle to get down wards is really important. And actually, you can see Carrier just managed to make his way in there. And you can see near the river, just over the wall, he's gotten a ward down. And I think that one's really important. So when HLE are on the dragon setting up in the river, there is positions that Faker and Doran can TP to. So we'll see when HLE push in if they sweep all of these wards out. I feel like that's going to be make or break for this next fight, is can they get behind them with a TP flank?
That's a really good point. TP down for Zeka now, who catches that wave. 35 seconds here until the dragon. A lot of prio for T1, a lot of vision. Doran has TP. He's the only one in the top lane right now. Putting some extra pressure on. He can join at a moment's notice. Ben often wants to go later with the shield.
One thing notably as well, because they have a Lee Sin, you have one less sweeper. Because, you know, you keep the Trinket Ward as a Lee Sin. So Kanavi doesn't have one to sweep out, and they haven't cleared out those 2 wards behind. So the Light has his sweeper available. We'll see if he moves to clear out this vision now. I think they'll get the Banana Brush, but will they go behind as well?
I don't know. It looks like
There's
the collapse is
TP.
coming in. There's the TP, and now immediately HLE realize what is going on. They're able to back away and actually get position here, but now we got a TP in from the Shen. Immediate taunt does come down, but still Zeu's pretty tanky. Still has to back away, and now HLE have lost their position here on the Dragon for now.
They need to start working on it, though, T1 do, if they are going to take it, and that's going to require a bit of a split here. Owner soloing it as they hold this Banana Brush. Vision control is so paramount here. Guma pushing forward.
Guma's trying to just lead the charge here, and immediately is just going to get blown up. Leads the charge, dies, and now we're going to see Zeus going in, and he is going to fall. They do take out the jungler of T1, but that is about it. As now T1 up a member. Flash comes in, double taunt from Faker. As they're looking for more, they're going to get some flashes out of HLE, but it's still a 1-team fight here for T1.
And he just charged so far forward on the Cogmore. Flash wasn't available at the time, and Guma gets immediately focused down, taken out, and the composition crumbles.
I mean, it's all about these carries, right? I mean, yes, you have Zeka's backup, but just wasn't able to do anything there. As this would be crazy. No way. No way, Kanavi.
No way. Go away.
They're also like not just trying to secure the dragon. They're like, we're gonna kill him.
Yes, Smite though, he's able to get in, and no, they get distracted by someone else, the Cassiopeia. Now they do take him down, but Kanavi gets in, picks up a couple of kills. And at least they are able to get the punish on a Delight. But now Kanavi in an awkward spot. He's gonna get taunted up. Guma doesn't really have much backup here, trying to save Elise Sin. Not really gonna work out for him. He is gonna flash away, but now you're going to lose your flash and potentially go down. As trying to save him, he is not able to. And now we got a weird breakdown as it's a 1v1 between a Nefiri and a Shen. But HLE, you know, importantly, they got the Dragon. We do still have this 1v1 going on. Owner just trying to kite it out with the little doggies.
The Titanic
going to jump away.
Kills all the dogs in, so they can't fight. In terms of gold, T1 doing pretty good, but the 3rd Dragon is secured by HLE. This was a manic encounter.
It's hard to quantify who walks out ahead here because it's so expensive what Hanwha did. They were able to get a lot of those kills back, so it didn't end up being as bad as it looked initially. But here,
yeah, I felt like the TP was too early, but then they just pushed in and let Doran get behind him.
And Faker is ready to follow up on the taunt. It's just an easy lockdown. Zeka gets zoned away then, so even though he's an additional threat that's left, they kill 2. And T1 end up, you know, thinking they've got this Baron secured, or this Dragon secured. They chase Kanavi and then turn on to Zeka without getting the smite here. So it ends up just being Kanavi taking this away, which is very hilarious. And then in the ensuing fight, it costs a lot here for HLE because Kanavi goes so deep, end up getting the kill onto Delight as we are fighting near Baron.
Yeah, a lot of damage being traded just mostly onto HLE. We saw Culling coming down, but they're able to back away, importantly. Once again, it's definitely the position they want to be in, as now they're trying to get on top of Faker, who's in a rough spot himself, just soaking up a ton of damage, gets polymorphed. He's still alive, though. This Faker very tanky here on the Galio.
Yeah, the ult from Carrier saving him there. It's also gone the, what's it called, Volcanic Rukun for maximum magic resistance as Zeka. We don't often see that on the Galio in the mid lane. And then the Imperial Mandate, which is so good with Galio. You get 30 ability haste effectively on your CC abilities, 15 from the base, 15 from the extra effect. So on his W, his E, and his R.
And the vulnerability for the Lucian, who needs that extra damage to cut through and get that burst, is going to feel great. We do have Randuin's here now completed for this Kog'Maw, so very difficult to burst him down without a lot of help and a lot of CC. We're really camping this bush. We're making it a party.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting spot because there's no objective over here. Owner's not going to expect this as he's running face first into it. He's had no idea as now the Galio comes down, but they get in, they get out. And it's a very nice pick here from the side of HLE. Even the wild growth on the follow-up from Kanavi is huge. They get a couple. As now, what are they going to take afterwards?
I think Baron has to be the call at this point.
I thought that T1 were going to be able to turn that around, but they just could not collapse fast enough. The whole HLE were able to get in there from the mid lane and just completely win the war of attrition. Now TP from Zayas, who has his Dusk and Dawn at the ready. And it's just going to be a Baron, and all T1 can do is kind of feebly try to get a return kill on this turret. But into this Hydra, I don't think they can. Doran's going to push bottom lane instead, and that trap comes up huge for HLE.
Now with Baron in hand, 2,500 gold lead, it's Dragon in a minute 20. HLE can push out these lanes with the Baron buff and then just choke out the vision of T1. And when T1's composition, the short range comp, needs to push in aggressively, it's so hard to do. This is a replay of that. Just Owner face checking, doesn't expect them to be there at all. And even with all the safety for Neferi, it's not enough against that burst. And Kanavi is able to disengage, then go back in.
Yeah,
instead of the play on a Faker.
With Faker coming here, FaZe could do something, but they just got cut off by the bottom duo of HLE getting there much faster.
Okay, so T1 working really hard to get the Scuttle Crab there, not wanting to give that over. But now we're going to see HLE pushing the waves out with the Baron buff. And no doubt looking to sweep out the vision in this situation and just not give T1 easy access to the area.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how T1 are going to manage to get into this Infernal Drake. They have to fight for it. I mean, at least in terms of flash CDs, maybe they can try to force something on Guma, but that's about it. And again, as we've talked about, he has so much protection built into this composition.
All he needs to do is position well and not overextend, not walk into that CC.
Yeah, has Randuin's.
It feels like it's a lock.
His flash is up so soon, so they could stall it out for that as well.
True, and it doesn't look like T1 are going to get an opportunity, as that's going to be the ult in from Faker.
But it's completely worthless in terms of what he gains from it. And, you know, Baron is still up here, so HLE can just bide their time, push those waves out. Now they're on this Dragon. No Galio ult here.
And 2 seconds, 1 second, Guma flash back up. There is a flank coming in, though.
Oh, this flank could go so hard in this one. We'll see how it is going to work as immediately Doran is able to access, but he's going to get knocked up. In goes the Neferi. Big taunt is there, but the follow-up not quite. A lot of damage done, but Doran already down. In goes the Neferi, and he takes the Infernal Soul away from the hands of T1. Picks up the double kill. And HLE are beginning to run away with this game as another kill goes to Kanavi. The steal is there on top of the triple kill.
Beautiful peel there from Delight to stop the Renekton from getting access to his AD carry. The damage starts to come around. The turnaround is there. And Kanavi cleans up, executing the members of T1, getting the kills, getting the Dragon. And HLE looking in great position to close this game out. I don't think they're going to get it right now, but they are so strong. 7,000 gold lead in Infernal Soul as well. And then just massacring the base.
Yeah, just ripping this inhibitor out. And that's what the edges of the rest of this Baron. So T1 lose Infernal Soul, lose an inhibitor. And Kanavi goes back in here initially to push on the Doran, and then peel here for the backline, and then decides that, hey, you know what, I'm going to taxi on this Lucian. Steals the Dragon, kills the Neferi, and the Milio, mind you. And he's looking to clean up house on FaZe, who he used to get into the Dragon in the first place.
So well played, just not missing an ability. The fact you're connecting the Sonic Wave onto the Lucian twice in that situation, even if he didn't secure the smite, that would have been a great play. But the fact he gets it too, and now Doran is in big trouble.
Oh, Doran's in a lot of trouble here as Dominus comes in, and we have more. There's more members of HLE that are coming in here, so that's where you are going to get the secure, as even the Light's getting into the action.
They're still trying to get that mid tower. FaZe is desperate. He's been trying all game.
You know, I don't want to say it's donezo because we have seen some comebacks, but it really feels like at this point, there's just no way back in. Even with the standing gold, the bounties, Tunnel Life Esports have so much gold at this point, and their comp with the Siege they have and the Infernal Soul should just eventually wear T1 down.
You can see they're just kind of brute forcing it. Zeus is going to taunt into multiple members, and now he has to try to flash away. Lots of damage is there, as you do have... Whoa! Okay. He's okay. He's back. And that's going to be the inhibitor in mid and top now, taken down.
TP here from Doran for the flank, but he's
Pretty
so
deep
far
TP,
away.
and now Faker gonna just, okay, this is gonna be the melee ult that does come out, and now Faker's still in a lot of trouble, although does bait Kanavi pretty low, but I think the wallets are just too heavy. The front line is there, and the damage dealers have all the room in the world to take them out as NECA does go very deep. And you see, Guma didn't quite follow the train, but he's just trying to get the wave in here, it looks like, as HLE, I think from this position, should be able to close it out. So you could probably still hear the hesitation in my voice, but that is going to be the kick away, and Guma will be safe this time. Owner desperate to try to do something, but it is too far gone. HLE should be taking this game number 3. His owner also is going to go down, and HLE jump ahead in the series.
And despite the fact they're 2-1 up, this is the first game that felt pretty convincing start to finish, other than that one team fight, but they did flub it a little bit. It was just a strong early game. They knew what to do with their composition. They followed through, and they closed it out without any real hope for T1. So a big confidence boost, and now at match point to attend MSI, redeem themselves what happened last year at the road to MSI.
The Lee Sin pick worked a treat. I mean, in that fight where he stole the dragon to secure the soul, he peeled for the back line. He got into the pit, got the dragon, and got multiple kills. He was doing so much, but I think we have to go back to the rest of the overarching draft here for T1. It felt like they tried to play this game on hard mode with what they set up here. Heavily melee, low range. Kog'Maw has so much protection. You're playing into this Cassiopeia that you left open. T1 did not make it easy for themselves, and as you can see, they really had no strong position across the early game. Things got a little bit more even when they won that one scrap, but Hololive Esports just had so many tools.
And time was so heavily on HLE's side as the game went on, so the fact they had that early lead just took all the pressure off them.
One game away from nabbing that seed number 1 here for Hololive Esports. We'll see if they can do it, as they have a big lead now after a dominant Game 3 victory. They desperately want that first seed. We'll see if they can do it after the break.
나 W 2초. 나 이제 궁대기네.
나 천천히 벌게.
갈려.
맞아.
야야 퍼져.
갈려 노플.
나 노플. 갈려.
갈려 잡았어.
준혁이 형 실드 한번.
안 죽어.
야 아래 맞아. 루시아. 나는 죽은 거 같아.
야 살아야 된다. 야 야랭 꺼야 돼.
야 레넥 봐야 돼 레넥.
괜찮아. 나안 죽어.
이렇게 홍거 주지 마. 홍거
탈진 있어.
안 죽어. 뭐 탈진 들었어? 와.
이거 끝까지 라인 살려서. 라인.
나 미칼 있어. 나 필이 노플이다.
야 코그마 그 레넥스 노플.
사줘.
미칼 썼어. 나이스.
나 필이 노플이야.
나 피일이야.
나 변이 4초.
나이스.
나이스 잘했다. 잘해보자. 잘해보자.
잘하네.
나이스.
좋아요.
Their draft reads have been a lot stronger.
For the side of T1, I feel like it's really going to be important that Owner steps up. He has had a bad series, for being brutally honest, and just not being at this typical level we see from him, so needs to be more consistent, not making these overextensions where he gets caught out. And I would love to see Carrier have some more agency, because the game that they won was on the back of his Rakan, and then we saw him on Milio in the follow-up. And I feel like if you're getting him on picks where he can have more proactivity, I think you're going to have a lot more success. Obviously, the Bard is going to remain permabanned against him. There's a lot of other picks we've seen him make phenomenal plays on, and that's often been the tool to unlocking T1.
The Aurora going to get banned this time around. No Nocturne still. High prio on that pick. Hanalife have found a ton of success with this Aurora pick throughout this year. And so many of these big jungle picks are gone, with the exception of the Xin, which we know is also kind of a flex pick right now, technically speaking, can be played in the top lane. Even the Lee Sin being gone here means that picks like Wukong are suddenly a little bit more relevant, which is, I think, in part why we see this Annie ban here by Hanalife Esports in the final spot.
I think maybe also we often see the Aurora and Tani, or the Aurora being taken away. I think a big takeaway from these bans is no top laners, apart from, I mean, I guess the Varus is a flex, but the Rumble going to be left open. We also were seeing the Vayne and the Gnar banned away. They went banned, so a lot less ban attention towards that role. And Doran instantly slams down the Rumble. There's no Galio to answer it, which we have seen before. There's no Sion to answer it. There is still the Cassante, which you've seen be pretty popular on the back of Doran's Helm, of all things, working against him if it is going to be picked up in this game. But the Yone that we saw banned in Game 1 going to come out here for... We don't know. Either, you know, I think probably going to be played by someone.
His name starts with a Z?
Name starts with a Z, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
so.
what I was thinking as well.
Hey, man, Yone bottom lane still could happen.
Yorick would make that. I think we know which player it's going to be.
Yeah.
They actually lock this in, but the Cassante makes more sense. So we've got Soul Lanes on lock here. Now, I'm wondering about a Maokai pick. When you're playing Yone into Maokai, it can be sometimes very tricky to actually close the gap and get where you want to be. Maokai works well with the Rumble, and even though it hasn't been one of our premier jungle picks, I think deep and fearless, there's definitely an angle, especially if Faker feels comfortable picking up an AD mid pick here to clash with this Yone. See what he wants to do, but this is an owner angle. Hey, it's going to be Faker's Azir. We saw BTD pull this pick out late in Fearless against D+ just a few days ago.
Azir into the Yone, though, is a pretty bold one. After the matchup, we've seen the Yone picked into the Azir, so Zeka definitely going to be fine with that, but Faker wanted the mobility to potentially dodge away from the Unsealed Fate. I think they'll probably go for a jungle pick here. You talked about the Maokai. There's also things like the Skarner here, which can work well in tandem with the Rumble. Poppy also does good into those dashes that both these have, but I think having a solid tank jungler not only fits what they have so far well, but also for Owner specifically could be a good pick to stabilize.
Yeah, and it certainly could still be a flex, the Poppy. Zyra jungle would be very fun, and we know Kanavi loves it. He's actually the one who gets the Maokai. Though, part of the reason I mentioned the Maokai earlier was because it is also paired with Yone very often. Because of the AD mid, you have an AD top, you need a little bit more magic damage. It feels like in these slots, the Maokai can do incredibly well. And it sets up the Yone's ultimate and his knockups really, really well. It's very difficult to play around that. So I thought maybe we'd see a denial from T1, something AD mid, but instead the shoe is on the other foot.
Anyone excited for Rocket Belt Maokai once again?
Yep. Something that could be a cause for concern is we often saw Delight playing as part of the combo the Maokai Blitzcrank.
Yeah.
So the potential to set up for that. I remember back in the day, Gen G using that to great effect because it's the point and click CC and then just the rocket grab to follow up.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that when you're playing into these carries that are so squishy, it is going to be very easy to, if someone is trying to set up that shuffle, for example, the Azir, or the Rumble is trying to join a team fight, you can find yourself in trouble if you end up interacting with the enemy jungler. Bottom lane going to get all the focus here. We see the Caitlyn ban, we see the Ashe to follow here, as consistent damage output is what Hanalife Esports need more than anything else. I think stability in a winning lane is what T1 want in the bottom side, so that's where you see the Caitlyn ban come through. Not a whole lot left as they'll take away the Xin here, expecting that Poppy could still be a flex.
They still have that option available, which does add some flexibility. In theory, the Maokai could be flex to support, but it's, I think, less likely than the Poppy. So we'll see what the last ban from T1 is. The bot lane has kind of been ravaged so far by Fearless and a lot of these bans coming through.
I don't think you necessarily want to ban Blitzcrank here because it's just too risky of a ban, and it's not necessarily going to get you a lot of value. You still have to be wary of the potential combo, but they'll take away the Mel instead. Mel Pike could have been an option. And Guma's Senna, which was banned earlier in this series, is now to come back. Now, Senna Maokai, something that we have seen a lot across the last few years of LCK. Not so much recently, but this is kind of, you know, HLE pulling back the pages of metas a little bit and saying, well, in Fearless, this is going to work. We've got mastery of all these picks. Zeka's Yone is terrifying. Guma's Senna has been so consistent.
And you know, Senna has been a pick that in solo queue is just rampaging and doing so much work. Obviously, pro play is different, but the success is not something that's going to go unnoticed by the pros.
Speaking of throwbacks,
He's considering the Aphelios in this situation, but a mobile pick into this composition does feel pretty risky.
gotta be Thresh, right? It's gotta be Thresh.
I think so too.
I mean,
Or Nautilus.
I think Tom Kench is too risky here. I don't think it's safe into this composition. I think it's gonna really struggle. Thresh is way safer, empowers the Azir a little bit more as well. Carius looking on.
Yeah, he certainly enjoys
This is my
himself
pick.
some Thresh. He was a big Thresh player when it was very meta. As there's the Blitzcrank along with the Maokai.
I think with the
It all
Thresh
comes together.
coming in, that's always been a matchup Blitzcranks have enjoyed playing into.
Yeah,
especially
your
'cause-
hook is longer than theirs.
and he has to like go stationary to use a lot of his abilities, so you can just grab him. The fact that you get the Maokai Blitzcrank pairing and it's into the Thresh, you can see Delight was waiting for this moment.
Yeah, it's one of the better drafts here for T1. I think they got a lot of comfort. Like, carry a Thresh with Aphelios was kind of his thing with Guma for a long time, especially back in 2021 when Aphelios was so strong that he was, with Gale Force, he was first picked in almost every game he was left available in. There's a lot of synergy that Keria has with this pick, but Pays hasn't played it with Keria that much because it's a more niche pick in longer Fearless drafts like this. I like the draft. I think it scales well. It's got some good power picks in here. It's Faker on Azir. But once again, it feels like Hanwha got the kind of right picks at the right end of this draft that are unusual, but like the Blitzcrank works well into the Thresh. They've got the Maokai set up for it. They've got the Maokai set up for their Yone. And T1 reacted well, but it did seem to me like Hanwha Life Esports had the better plan from start to finish. Let's see what the game looks like as we get into it, because I do think that there's a lot of scaling in both of these drafts, and it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and a lot more potential for HLE to make some of those snap engages again, and it's going to be up to Keria with the Lantern, I think, to deny that from happening.
Well, we'll see exactly how it does play out. Does HLE win another early game? Let's find out in Game 4. All right, game number 4. HLE are one game win away from making it into MSI with that first seed. And it is so juicy to just get out. You don't have to play in the play-in stage. You're the first seed. You don't have to play on Sunday. You get to take a longer rest. You get to say, I'm the best team in the LCK right now. You don't have to play up against potentially Gen G, who is also looking incredibly scary. Or KT.
I mean, if KT,
Always got to throw that in. You know, there's still
if
a
KT
chance.
beats Gen G, they could do anything right. You never know. That sounds like something you would not enjoy.
Exactly. That was an interesting miss. I don't know how you missed that one.
You know what's weird is that all the Senna we've seen this season has been fleet footwork, but the by far dominant rune in solo queue has been Death by a Touch, and a big reason for her resurgence. So it's just interesting that all the pros have stuck to fleet footwork. Obviously, that bit of movement speed and sustain is nice, but in terms of the damage, the pressure that you can get from Death by a Touch, just not leaning into that as of yet.
I think that the Deathfire Touch is always going to be better in an ideal world, but in pro games, having the ability to stay alive and, you know, having that extra movement speed is always going to feel safer. And so I think that's probably why we see that, especially here in the LCK.
I think if our LCK pros can find a way to get more safety in any manner, they will do it.
I think we're going to see Rocket Belt Senna this game.
On stage. Yeah, no.
Got
I really hope
Doran's
not.
helm start, by the way.
We're definitely going to see at least one.
Got to keep your helmets on here at the LCK. Got to put your seatbelts on.
Yeah, Doran's helm for 80 carries also now just bleeding in just because of, again,
Well,
how safe it is.
I think particularly on Senna, it's been very popular because you have so much sustain and your effective pool of health is so much larger than the typical 80 carries because of that sustain, and the resistances help with that. I think in the previous game with Illusion, it was because that same theory applying to the Milio, who's bolstering you. But the Doran's Helm Senna start is pretty popular right now. And she's also very squishy as an 80 carry. Even as far as 80 carries go, she's one of the squishier ones. So those base stats helping out quite a bit.
Yeah, and we also have Doran's Helm for the Cassante, obviously. Has been...
Doran's on T1. Why is he selling his helms to all of HLE?
He just needs... He's running a business, okay?
Well, he's got 2 rings on the other side and a bow, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And a shield on the
But
other side.
why is he giving the new mage to HLE is my point.
He's selling a lot of merch, okay? He doesn't really care where it goes as long as there's money in
He's
his
trying
pockets,
to offload
okay?
it. He's like, Helm is worthless. You got to get rid of these stocks. Although the buff is definitely making it, as you guys can see, a bit more of an appealing option.
Yeah. And, I mean, you know, first pick Rumble comes in for Doran, and I feel like we don't talk about it all that much just because... Okay, we're going to actually have a play here, but no, the minion wave is close enough, so...
So that was nearly dangerous because he'd gone for a heavy trade, and then I think the Deathfire Touch had timed out, and then he got CC'd under, but that could have been really bad.
Yeah.
So I think there's 2 lines of thinking with the Rumble into Cassante. You can go First Strike and just farm up gold, print money, and be strong later in that regard. Or you go for a more combat-heavy room and you try and bully the lane out, which is the approach Doran's gone for here. And he has got a bit of a lead so far, but you are kind of on a bit of a timer because once that Koenig Rukun comes in, so hard to do much.
Easy pull here. Now we got Kanavi making a play. Flash shot in, and Carrier will have to accept his fate. This will be first blood once again into the hands of HLE, and this time into the pockets of Gumayusi.
Well, that's not exactly how the Blitzcrank Maokai combo works, but eventually the Blitzcrank hooks somebody and the Maokai shows up. You know, that combination, that pairing could be quite potent.
I mean,
it could have been any jungler, frankly, in this situation.
Yeah. I think, though, when you have Blitzcrank, Senna, and Maokai, if one of them hits, they're all hitting in most situations. So the triple setup combo just very potent for making these ganks easy.
Yeah. You know, Maokai doesn't have a whole lot of mobility. You get him into range, you're able to twist it advance a little bit easier. So it's a nice little combo regardless, and it is going to be kind of the crux of the composition here for HLE when it does come to looking for picks. T1 and Owner mostly just farming it up this game, hasn't found an opportunity. He's just going to take that dragon as here's the kill once again.
He's like, I'm just going to look for a hook. I won't say anything else.
먹어.
And it says take the kill. Give
잡아.
him his reaction.
소리지만 못하게 하고 빼서.
A little bit hard to hear.
Nice that he moved in the rush just to drop vision, make it harder to dodge. Oh, Root comes in!
Oh, we got a Root. Ooh!
Oh, the Blitzcrank hook on cooldown. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why Carry and Paves are playing so aggressive. We just came out of the replay, and it's like, oh man, they're so far up, but the light had just missed a grab.
Trying to keep us guessing, you know.
Yeah.
Owner, you're not playing the Fury this time, as that's going to be the knockup. And we got the Maokai coming on in. They don't quite have a lot of damage, though. Is now Carrier going to land a hook on a Delight. There's the follow-up. The sweep from Faker into the wall helps out Owner. And HLE have kind of handshook on a fight that they did not want to get into. This kill will go over to Faker's Azir on top of it all.
Yeah, you can see it was a decision as well. They're both like, and then they ultimately give it over to Faker.
We emphasize the Maokai Blitzcrank combo, but I think we failed to mention there's an important extra factor, damage.
Okay. Gonna get the flash here out of Faker.
Yeah,
Down Soul.
you need someone else there to actually kill the target when you do any Maokai Blitzcrank combos, which is something I think that Kanavi and Delight didn't factor in when they went for that play.
Well, I mean, it's obviously Poppy and Azir as well, and the Poppy passive makes it harder to even get those kills. It gets tougher to kill the lower health she gets, and you know, you watch this happen, and initially you're like, Owner, again, really? But he has a lot of backup here, and Keria is the one who sets up the Lantern while simultaneously hooking So Owner can Lantern out late. Carry gets the double flay, and then boom, Faker has it in Burst Divide, and Owner's able to re-engage back into the fight.
What was weird was at the start of the play, Zeka had his Q3 charged up and then used it on Faker to try and stop him getting the play, but then he had to rebind the soul, and he just had no way of getting to the fight. And I feel like this was such a spur-of-the-moment decision. It wasn't communicated well. And if Zeka had been ready and in position to follow up, this could have gone completely differently.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a glimpse of old HLE potentially. You know, just pulling the trigger on any sort of fight when it looks like, you know, oh, they're in our jungle. Okay, we can go for a fight. But again, it's Poppy. You don't have the same backup that T1 had, and not everybody was on board. You know, this is something we've seen a lot in the past. It is just a couple of kills that go over, but it does mean that finally it's T1 kind of in a winning position here. They don't have a mass lead. It's like 200 gold.
But they're not behind.
They're not behind, exactly.
And that's a bit of a different look here so far in this one. As Owner's gonna look for a play. Yeah, he's got his he's level 6.
Okay, just gonna they're trying to stick together, but that just means that one of them is gonna get hooked up, as now a bunch of damage comes out from Pays, and they can just go for a reset here. The wave clear from the Senna is not good. Knocks him into the wall though, and no! Pays got aggro, somehow just dies as Delight hooks him in, and that's the end of the Aphelios. Doesn't even get a chance to flash.
What a fumble there. I felt like it was so funny how Owner was threatening the ult, and they're like, oh, just hit us then, we'll be free.
Yeah.
But with how low Gumayusi was, it felt like a surefire thing, but a misstep. Owner goes to slam him into the wall, and Pays gets caught out. Once again, a dive attempt onto the weak side Gumayusi ends up backfiring.
Yeah, now he's got 2 kills, and the gold swings in that bottom lane back to his favor.
It was nice while it lasted.
Yeah, they weren't behind in an early game, and now they're pretty far behind. If your Senna has 2 kills, is sailing through the early game,
Watch this group
you're just so happy.
that Ox is talking about. It's really cool because it means that it's impossible for Owner to isolate one target. Guma gets ulted here, but there's no CC. The wave is thinning out, so they decide they want to go in now, but they could have just waited. Owner goes in first, the silence is there, and then he steps out of aggro, and Pays picks it up.
I don't even think he got
Yeah,
died.
on second look, I don't even...
Yeah, I think he just died.
you're right.
I called it that way because he took so much damage. I'm like, oh, he must have taken a turret shot, but actually he just got blown up by Blitzcrank. Like, Aphelios is not very tanky at this point in the game, especially with Doran's bow, which, you know, by the way, is not quite the same as Doran's helm or even Doran's blade. So
I mean, Blitzcrank base damages are kind of crazy. So
he just kind of one-comboed him with Guma with a little bit of health. So
you know what I was saying before, how they needed more damage? Maybe Delight. Just
depends
needed
on
his
the
ultimate.
target, yeah.
He just needed his ultimate. Oh yeah, better target.
Well, this is a game state that's problematic because of the scaling elements, not too dissimilar to what we saw with the Kog'Maw in the previous game. The lead is smaller this time around, but we've seen games where, you know, the Senna is behind 1,000 gold, and then you get to that break point. Good try, I suppose.
I mean, yeah.
Good hustle!
It's a Senna who doesn't have flash, so maybe if you get that, okay, we're going to force a fight here once again, trying to get in onto Guma, but they just turn tail and try to take down Faker, who barely gets away, and they actually do take out Guma in the pit. As meanwhile, Zeus getting into the action. They finally get Faker, and Pays is all alone on the bottom side. Zeka looking for the kill. So many low health bars, but it's a double that goes the way of Doran. And T1 will win in the pit fight at the end of the day. They also get the Dragon.
Well, ultimately, double Dragon into Hextech Soul feels really good after some feeble attempts there on the bottom side. Carrier's flash hook. Light.
The light with the flash on. Turret! It's perfect! Pays says, take a seat, Delight, not today.
The fact that he committed the flash as well for the play and doesn't get it, it just felt like in that passage of play, luck was on the side of T1, or maybe just a bit of magic, but they're able to pull off a successful team fight despite so many low health bars. I feel like this was just on the knife's edge. Faker initially is the one who gets focused down heavily and has to escape on such low HP after getting grabbed in here. The fact he survives this initial attempt And then although he does eventually get taken down, look how heavily Zeka has to commit to get him.
He has to flash, so he can't actually rejoin the team fight. Goes for Pace here, actually just kites it back. Owner incredibly low, this Poppy pick, insane. And then Carrier here is eventually killed, but they get the Dragon in tow.
Watch
and
this.
then Pace.
나 괜찮아.
He's like, I'm okay.
Wow.
Like the whole
기대
time,
살게요,
he is just like, nope.
Yep.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he knew that.
Uses the red gun for movement speed, then uses the white one to block. Just perfect situation.
Yeah, we don't see that much Aphelios, and we don't see that. We rarely ever see Aphelios into Blitz, but he's just got it on lock. He knows
he's-
all the interactions.
Back in the Gen G era, when Aphelios was still relevant, he was one of the best. Baker.
Ooh, nice hook here from Delight. That's a lot of damage. Owner gonna threaten that one, but he gets underneath it. Kanavi says, you know what? I'm pretty good against the Poppy here on the Maokai. So we're getting to see all the interactions today, and that's a nice pick here on a Faker as Zeka's picking up some plates in top.
The counter Poppy play has been so good from HLE. They know all the interactions. They know exactly how to outplay what Owner is trying to use here.
I mean, in fairness, this was a team that had Peanut on it, and his Poppy was pretty famous, so it does make a lot of sense.
Agreed. Well, that was a very successful setup as Faker backs away here. The minions pass through, gets hooked, and then watch this from Kanavi, straight through the ground. And Faker tries to peel with his ultimate, but it's just too late.
He even tries to, he does actually try and sidestep it. He sees it coming, he's watching his character, but isn't able to in time. Holds the flash there, wanting to save it, potentially for this upcoming dragon fight. It is 2 dragons to 0. Is that Hextech Soul, so a lot of emphasis is going to be put on these next 2 neutrals, I feel.
Oh, that's going to be the flash used here by Faker, so he finds value out of it eventually, but it's a problem. He's got it back now. No presence in top lane.
Yeah.
Zeka doesn't have TP, though, so
And now
that.
doesn't have that summoner for that big dragon fight.
Yeah.
And the Herald as well in 40 seconds. If you get that, we've seen the value a Herald can have in setting up for an objective or that combat Herald coming through.
I think that's exactly where HLE have their setup here now. Maokai ult coming back online. They've got total topside control. You go Herald into Hextech Denial.
They might just kill you.
Yeah, they're kind of on vision. I mean, he saw Delay backing there, and so Carry was making his way up, but still kind of playing with fire. I suppose Doran feels pretty fed at the moment.
Giving a little bit of extra space here for T1 to group for a contest. Or Hunt Life Esports right now. Zayas wants to get the Q3. No flash.
Little dash on in. That was pretty close.
And now Azir just going to head to the mid lane, it looks like. Picks up the blue buff, in fact. Instead, we'll back down to that lane. They both have teleport to join for that Herald fight, where we're going to see, I think, this game blown open one way or another. If it's just given over to HLE, it takes all the double dragon momentum away from T1. But if T1 fight and lose, it might just be going to that series on Sunday. It's going to give this one up. And so that should be Honda Life Esports really taking a lot of control on the map. The mid turret, which they're going to be threatening when they drop this if they want to use it for Prio, only has 2 plates left. So it's not only Prio, but it's first turret as well that's on the table. So much gained in just a matter of seconds after Faker's pushed out, lost his flash.
I just feel like we've had a pretty chaotic early game. I mean, a lot of blitzcrank shenanigans, dives gone terribly wrong. And just a little stun with hitting the minion. He's able to lock down pace. And this is all very crucial. We were talking about the timing. We've got this dragon spawning. There's the Rift Heralds. And T1, they have a decision to make. I mean,
In truth, I
they're
think
just
they,
going to come in, but
I think they are likely going to lose this turret no matter what, but they could not fight for Prio.
It's so hard to face check in a Maokai Blitz, and Faker's trying to find an angle here. They
Okay.
want to fight this.
Hook is down. Already a bit of damage on the owner, though, and he's just going to get zoned away by all of the roots that do come in, as now a hook comes down, trying to save owner's life, but that means that Carius is going to go down, and this super fed Yone just tears him apart, and also Guma picking up the kill. So
Faker's just going to TP top.
yeah, and they like kind of tried to get in there, but it just ends up They're bleeding more kills over to HLE on top of the Dragon.
It's just not enough. When there's a Maokai on the other side, there's not an angle for Faker, especially without Flash, to find a scoop. And they just got pushed out, and now they're going to lose this turret here. Mid-turret also forfeit as Faker's trying to trade one back, and Zeus is coming up to try to deny it. I don't think he's going to get this either.
I feel like HLE are playing so well around Zeka. You constantly see him pushing a side lane, and then Kanavi and Delight just leaning in, playing in the jungle, and making it impossible for someone to walk up and clear the wave. Doran has to play so safe because they're threatening over the wall.
Oh, the hook is going to land once again, and the follow-up is right there.
And that's the
Equalizer utilized as he just dies, and in goes Zeus as well, trying to punish here. No flash, no ult, and Faker in a lot of trouble. No way for him to get away from this one, and that is just a solo kill coming down from Zeus.
And I think this might be the beginning of the end of this game, as HLE push up to a 4,000 gold lead here at 18 minutes, and we get solo kills inside. The group ups in the bottom lane. The pressure is real. The shadowing is there, and Owner, he's 1-0-4. He's 100% KP, but it feels like he has made such a low impact in this game comparatively. Once we got past a certain point, he was able to trick them right. He was able to out-tank in some of those early game skirmishes, but otherwise has not made the same impact that Kanavi has made at all. As you look at this fight, Faker can't join, right? Hook comes through from Carrier, but where's the fault? There's nothing here. There's nothing in this. As the Yone gets knocked away, he doesn't care. And then here it's just a hook onto the Rumble that you said has to play safe, but maybe he should have equalized earlier. And Faker gets solo killed because moments before had to push Zeus out with his ult to peel for Zeus' last all-in, and now he's got nothing.
And he's like pushing soldiers into Cassante when Zeus is obviously charging under the turret. It just feels like
2 levels down.
And once he gets on top of you, you can't even dash away.
Yeah, he needs to know that that is going to happen. But maybe the respect not being shown there. And, you know, you look at his counterpart in the mid lane, Zeka 4-0-1, nearly 3,000 gold ahead in 19 minutes. And, I mean, you know, it didn't even have to be Zeka, but Zeka's Yone insane. Zeus is as well. We don't get to see it very often nowadays, but this is the Yone team. It was banned for a reason. As now a little hook on a Kanavi, but he just gets ulted away. So really not sure about that synergy, guys.
Hayes has IE, but this Cassante is just so tanky at this point, even with the Rooker and start, that he buys enough space.
Angle here. Oh.
There's just not, I don't think, a way for T1 to 5v5 with Faker also being this far behind for a while. Here comes the sieging ult. Faker has his flash. He might need it. It's too late.
Just not even going to bother. Down he will go, and that is going to be another kill. This time it doesn't go the way of Delight, as now Zeus is TPing away. He's like,
oh, what a read.
See you later.
Second time this series he's TP'd away at just insane moments. And now HLE goes straight onto the Baron. Ona has to run there. Should be there in time, but it's going down quickly.
20 minutes.
HLE are literally running circles around T1 right now on this map.
I mean, they know this is happening, but the grab comes in, and Carrier is down, and Owner doesn't even bother himself. He's like, well, oh, I say that. He's actually moving his way up towards the top side, but zero vision, and the root comes down. They wait for the root, and there's the smite. As now even Yone goes over the wall. Zeka looking for more as he is extending miles into the enemy jungle. Just executes him from miles away.
He didn't even need the Q3. He's like, let me try to hit this one. Okay, whatever. I'll just press E and you die. As this is a dominant game from HLE, arguably the most dominant of all that we've seen, and they have won every early game in this best of 5 to decide who's going to be our first seed, and it starts to feel like there's no hope. It starts to feel like there's nothing left in this one for T1. As look at the vision setup they have here. They tell Owner no. They've got the sapling as well, just for good measure, but then Guma just hits him. And then it's, okay, I'm killing you. Misses the Q3 as he feebly tries to run away, and then, oh, whatever. Oh, yeah. And after the start that Zeka had, you know, getting tricked by Faker, the solo death early on, he has bounced back at this
a little rusty,
huge way.
You know, he's like, I just got to shake off the rust, some mistakes.
That's the thing, so often.
Fine, I'm back.
In these big matches, in these live arenas, in these best of 5s, T1 are a team that you can't count out, and they ramp up over the series. But HLE, it feels like they're the ones who gain momentum and ramped up, and now just feel completely on top of this game. There hasn't really been much of a moment for T1, and they're pushing in with a Maokai ult. T1 have to scatter away.
Yeah, and they're just taking whatever they want at this point. I mean, 7,000 gold ahead. They're pushing mid, they're pushing bot, and Faker's in top lane because he knows that his presence on the defense is not going to do anything. So really just trying to pick up the crumbs of what HLE are giving him, which is, you know, these little plates.
He's got a Gnasher's Tooth and a Dream. He's hoping to get his team some bounty gold, but
they're just going to go ahead and take their second Hextech Drake of the game. Might as well.
The fact that T1 have double Dragon means that they can try to get, you know, 3 plates in exchange for Dragon. It's never going to be equivalent. It's never going to feel great, but they just have to get to this late game Aphelios. Remember the late game phase Aphelios versus KT, 10,000 gold down. They were able to win. I don't think Hanwha is going to give those same opportunities over, but there is, if you're looking at this in the miracle sense, if you're a T1 fan who's believing like it's not over till it's over, there are some good things right here, but it's going to take a lot more than just sitting back and scaling, I think, in this one.
I think the main sort of potential selling point is that with the composition of HLE, it's around these 2 carries. So if Zeka or Gumayushi make a big misplay, you're down to 1 damage dealer, which makes it very hard to fight your way out from that position. So for T1, it's trying to pick one of these major carries. It's not an easy task, definitely not. But that's kind of the angle. And as you said, those 2 dragons mean it's not a soul in HLE's hands right now. It's just so hard to approach, though, because there's this setup, this control, the threat of the Blitzcrank, the threat of the Maokai. This tower is going to be gone because Kanavi can just ult.
Yep, just going to throw an ult down, and immediately it's evacuation city here for T1. They just get away, and they say, no, thank you.
Yeah, against this composition, but particularly when you're this far behind, there's no tank. Owner just isn't bulky enough to survive anything that HLE throw at him, so there's no one who can just be in their way and absorb the Maokai ult, because they will just die to the follow-up.
Saw what happened last time with him against Zeka, and that was before he had IE. That was on 2 items. Looking for a kill on Azeus. I mean, he is incredibly strong at this point in time, but I think 1v3 is too much to ask for, so a little bit of a shutdown. Doran actually gets a gold lead himself, but again, feels like another little crumb that HLE are leaving for them.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you stack up enough crumbs.
You make a biscuit?
Yeah, I was going to say like a roll, but same idea.
How many crumbs do you need to make a cake? Probably a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Let's start with like a piece of cake.
That's how many you need.
Yeah. Just a little small triangle. Or maybe like a small pizza crust. HLE do end up losing Zeus here as they were trying to set a trap, and then this equalizer doesn't get the interrupt, but Zeus is then isolated. They're like, okay, well, he's not here. They even committed Faker's TP because they're like, we need to get something here. We absolutely must get something here, and they do.
And as much as this game does feel to be in a very dire spot, we've seen this series has consisted of moments where HLE have overstepped and been punished. So T1, they're fishing for those opportunities, trying to see who's recalling late, who's overextending, who's out of position, who can we punish.
Oh, speaking of which, right into the Azir Poppy combo. And guess who's here once again? It's Doran. Zeus is going to try to flash away to get out of this one, but 1 Harpoon gets the job done. And not even a Senna ult will save him. So a couple of kills in a row here for T1.
At the same time, FaZe is double farming. He's farming top lane and mid lane while the rest of the team goes down. So he's getting double farm for their late game Aphelios win con and sending everyone else as a kill squad. And the setup for HLE, you're like, well, we got this fed Cassante. He's not fed, but he's got items, right? He's late game Cassante. He's approaching it, right? We're 25 minutes in. He'll be able to handle almost anything that T1 throw at him. And the top side catch last time, that was a little bit of a desync there from HLE. This time they intentionally were like, he'll hold the line. He'll hold it, we'll defend. It's totally fine, we have control everywhere else, but now it means FaZe gets double farm, you get the kill, you get more money. The gold lead is still 6.5k, it's still massive here for HLE, but those small win cons are growing a little bit here now for T1.
Yeah, they have really sacrificed Faker's farm quite heavily to elevate FaZe, but he's now even gold with Gumayushi, which, I mean, we're so used to seeing fasting Senna, who's just so far down in gold, it's weird to see this, but FaZe being strong is such an important factor in this game. Na'Vi and Delight fishing. These two have been together at the hip throughout this game, using that combo. And now setting up for the Baron. This is so scary to approach with the saplings. Look at that damage!
It's crazy.
That is kind of insane, and that's mostly just the Leandres is now owner in a lot of trouble. I think he's just dead. I mean, the Lantern is there, but one little ward, one pesky ward, and you're not getting away. And just like that, T1's chances of challenging the Baron are down the drain.
And it's Baron into Dragon as well.
It's like an impossible situation. It's so hard to approach. It's so difficult. Someone has to go forward. Ona's the tankiest. He eats a bit of CC, and then he's just dead.
And you can't, I mean, you can, but you don't want to give up the Baron because of all the consequences that come with it. But when you try to force it like that, where you just kind of go in piecemeal and you try to get the information, if you're right on the timing or someone's out of position, maybe you could get something. But instead, you give a pick and you give the Baron. As you can see, the Lantern attempt here is denied.
Uh-oh. Oh my god, what is that damage? It's crazy. Zeka's just so fed at this point in time. 1Q3, and Faker's gone.
He's got a QSS. He's budgeted all of that extra money into even additional safety. And this Baron might push to end the game.
Oh, they're going to land an exhaust. Oh, no, mid-lantern. He just gets sacked down once again. But it does look like the rest of the team is abandoning ship with that knockback from the Poppy on a Kanavi.
Oh, the Maokai ult
comes in with the Maokai, and now you have the follow-up coming in from HLE, but it's a little bit off kilter. Down will go Kanavi. As Guma still very strong, still has the range, and Zeka still there with full health. So
Baker's respawning, so I think all they can get is this one inhibitor, but it's still a successful push. They have Baron, they have Prio for this Dragon, but they don't have a jungler. But for T1 to get there in time to challenge is going to be very difficult as he pings it. But I think I can do this.
Saves the little Krug for the charge.
Damage. Yeah, saving the Krog for the charge, so smart. I mean, Zeka on this champion is just something to behold. Now, Ona's looking for an angle, so they're going to have to move off the Dragon, but they've already gotten a low. This is just going to be given up.
X-Gates, I think, is part of why T1 is able to get here so fast.
Zeka, I don't think you do that much damage, but
now, I don't
might as
think
well try.
That Dragon pickup suddenly puts T1 at a good odds to win this game, but they've managed to deny another Dragon from HLE, keep them further away from the Hextech Soul, and at least keep their hopes a little bit more present in this game.
So initially this looks like maybe HLE can end the game, right? They go in, they get this interrupt here on the Lantern. It almost looks like predicted by Delight, by the way. But Doran actually is able to go into stasis here, and then Zeus is cut off. They get the Kanavi out, so his ultimate here, his Nature's Grasp, takes so long to actually come into effect that it's a little janky when he goes back in. And Doran is so big, he's got Paze's damage to follow up. And so with all this disjointedness and Faker's respawn, that's the end of the push. Otherwise could have been a win right then, right there. They're still in a commanding lead. They still have Baron for 20 more seconds, but Paze is getting stronger, has his 4th item now.
All right, here we go. Combo comes down once again. Equalizer there, just trying to get them away. Space has to flash at the very last moment just to try to survive against a Maokai Blitz combo.
And at the dregs of this Baron, they get another inhibitor.
Yeah, just going to take it down. Looks like they're kind of moving towards mid, but HLE, they also have to be careful not to overextend. Just going to poke from a distance with their Senna.
My God!
Rapid fire there for Gumayushi, almost 100 stacks. It's so hard with triple inhibs down. The game is just on a timer.
Yeah.
And against this comp, someone's going to get grabbed sooner or later. You have to believe.
Now T1 going to look for their moment as the grab is down. That's a ton of damage coming out from Paze. I mean, he is still an 80 carry 30 minutes into the game. So at least they hold on to their Nexus turrets. But man, HLE are playing this very safe and very respectfully.
Pretty dangerous. The fact that Doran didn't have Equalizer up, I think is the only thing that saved HLE from potentially, well, definitely losing the 80 carry and potentially losing more. But now they can just wait for the super minions to push
all they
in.
have to do is wait for the minions now.
Yep.
I don't even think the conversation about Baron or this next X-Tech Drake is that important for HLE. They're thinking about how they could set up a siege to end this game right now. As with 6 super minions coming in, with the Maokai ultimate in tow, and defending this is just nigh impossible.
Faker goes for Rabadons, not Azonias. He wants maximum damage, not going for the safety. No Rocket Belt as well picked up.
I think he just wants to go in there, deal a bunch of damage, and die. Like, at this point, he's probably going to die anyways, so might as well go down swinging. But HLE really just trying to put an end to this game, but they're not finding the way to do it just yet. That's a lot of damage into Doran already, as he's going to get rooted up. Immediately has to go golden. Zeka by his lonesome on a Paze, but he is only by himself, not able to get the kill. And finally take down Keria, and the damage is being done to these turrets as Faker being poked out. Look at this turret that is Gumayusi right now. The pull on a phase, and that might just do it as Faker in the base gets taken down. And Life Esports, they totally wipe T1 here on the Nexus. Triple kill to Guma, and they will be representing LCK as the first team going to MSI.
A statement series, redemption for what happened last year, the road to MSI. HLE able to make their way to this prestigious tournament, able to take down T1 in a dominant fashion.
And the way they did it, which looked different from so many of their games during their dominant run, their run to first place in regular season, was slower play. Different ways to play the mid game, playing through Gumayusi a little bit, and just overall showcasing a wider depth than what fans had expectations for. And against the predictions, against the grind of everyone saying their time might be over as the best team in the LCK, they secure it. First place, first seed for MSI.
And you know, it's been a while since we've seen these teams play. They've had a good amount of time to prepare, and I think we can definitely say HLE used their time to prepare well. The play they had, moving around the map, making T1 run around behind them, and also the drafts. I feel like they had an edge in so many ways. Yes, in the team fights, I think T1 showed their prowess there in some of these games to bring it back, but the early game was dominated by this HLE lineup.
There are just too many strong teams in this region, and HLE are the strongest. They have declared it tonight. They are the best team. There's only one man who did go for the 3-1 prediction for HLE. That was Jonah Strong. We also did have Degon going for the 3-2. Yeah, I mean, Jonah Strong, sometimes he looks like a genius. The other times we don't quite laud. But this time, you know, very much on the money, so props to him. But at the end of the day, it just feels like, you know, whoever's better on the day is going to get it done. But this time for HLE, they're first in terms of the standings at the LCK, and also they come out first here in the seed to MSI, proving that even in the long run they can be consistent and they can prove they can be the best team.
Zeka's first MSI. He's earned it. So many fans asking for it here on these
so
signs
good right now. It's crazy.
He looked so good in that final game. And that's what's so poignant about this win is so much of this year has been about Zeka not playing Yone, about Zeka playing Ziggs, about Zeka playing Victor. But in his final game, in the final win, he pulls out the classic. Guma pulls out the classic, you know, in the Senna. And he's going to sign his name here.
And it says, let's go to Daejeon. That's what he wrote at the top there above his signature.
You can see so much of the Life Esports family members were here as well. This one will be Kanavi's.
Kanavi just being such a great addition, not just to HLE, but to the league.
Let's win MSI, it says on his signature.
So fun to watch as a player, and just so aggressive and really challenging some of the tendencies we have in the LCK.
See if we can read Zeka's here.
I think it says Zeka.
I mean, what he writes underneath Valdez.
Oh, okay. Oh, it says
It says Daejeon.
It said, let's go.
Let's
it says,
go.
let's go. I can read that.
Yeah.
Good job, Ox. You can read.
You can read English? I'm very impressed. I didn't think you could do that. All right, it's Delight's turn. I kind of like this, by the way. We have all the fans were able to sign this earlier.
Yeah. And they do it,
in.
I think it's right in front of the super fan area. So really cool. Perks
MSI.
given over to the super fans as well.
Yeah, and in the middle where it had our LCK tagline, that part was like basically cut out, and that's where they're signing it, is how I understand this. Let's win MSI, it says. I thought it said, oh, it does say Usung there. It's just very hard to read his handwriting. We don't have to have great handwriting to be an MSI champion. As the light will find out potentially is Zeus. GG!
Hey, also, you can read that one too, right?
GG, no read.
And now, I mean, this is... you know, she did not book any ticket for Sunday because she believed.
I trusted you. I didn't even get a ticket for Sunday because I knew you weren't going to be there.
Yeah. They were right. There were actually a lot of signs on the Hanwha Life Esports side that were like, we're not coming back Sunday. Like, there's no Sunday for us.
The train. It's on the train. They're on the train. They're on the way.
Wow. Look at that.
Clean.
It's beautiful.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's danger!
All right, this started off kind of dicey in this one. Very back and forth. You know, we had T1 finally having a lead in the early game for about 13 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they lost it again right here.
As well, when you fall behind against a composition like this, it's so hard to do so gracefully. We saw once HLE had control when it came to the fight. Not even the fight, just the setup around the map, around vision, around objectives. So easy for HLE to get picks. Zeka was on. I mean, it's not unexpected at all. His form on Yone is phenomenal, but Delight and Kanavi working together as a unit so well, and the rest of the team there to follow up.
I think Zeka's going to end up getting POM. Just based on his performance on that last game, he was so out of control good, and you forget about the Rise game. You know, it's not in your mind anymore. But we will have to wait and see.
Wow, what a great Blitzcrank hook. God, I love support players.
Yeah, I wonder who Ox
I wonder who I voted for. Yeah.
Justice for supports.
I mean, the Camille game, insane as well.
Pulls out the Blitz here. Had a great game on Blitz. I think if I had a vote, which I don't, I would probably go Kanavi. I think we had a pretty obvious jungle gap in this series.
I voted Kanavi.
It just feels like he was super consistent. Owner couldn't find it today. And Kanavi really made it quite obvious. But, you know, great from many of the players here on the side of HLE. And even Paige, who was quite fed at the end here, could not get it done.
Shouts from Delight to go for Aphelios.
Zeka's so happy.
But Delight is as well.
I mean, last year was so heartbreaking with how it went down. To secure it, first time around, first match, not have to risk going down in the lower bracket, must feel so good.
Could, you know, go down as the year of Hanwha. You know, if they can win MSI, come back, win LCK, and then potentially win a Worlds title. Like
10th place at LCK Cup.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, started at the bottom, and then, you know, look what's happened.
Yeah.
What a turnaround of a season.
Well, let's take a look at the POM. It will be Kanavi here. And not a big surprise. I would not be surprised to see some votes. You know, we already know that Ox went for Delight, but also for Zeka. Would not be surprised at all. But Kanavi, a huge day today. His Lee Sin, I think, was a big reason why he does pick this up. Just insane play on that pick.
Yeah.
And he also wrote, "Let's win MSI." So
I think so often it's been Genji, T1 attending MSI. So the fact that we're getting this new face is so cool. And it's not even confirmed if Genji or T1 will be attending. Still have to see.
Or
KT Roaster.
Well, I'm saying that's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's not confirmed that Genji or T1 are going. It could be 2 new faces. We'll have to see. But definitely getting 1 new face in HLE. And I'm excited to see what they do on that international stage.
yeah, I don't know what it means about our region if KT actually somehow just is reborn and makes it into MSI through both Genji and T1, who are looking like much stronger teams right now.
I don't think it's a good sign, but KT went to the World's Finals last year, so yeah, I don't know. I can tell you guys, I voted for Genji. I predicted Genji tomorrow.
You're not the only one.
But, you know, that's often when KT gets their power. So, who
But
knows?
nobody believes.
I mean, just like today, like almost unanimously, anti-Hanwha, you know, everyone was T1, and then it did not happen.
Yeah, well, guys, we do have the interview on stage. Let's hop into that right now.
Thank you very much, guys, for the amazing commentary. This is here for the full team interview translation, joined by Hanwha Life Esports, who just made it to MSI as first seed in the LCK. We got Zeus, Kanavi, Zeka, Gumayushi, Delight, and head coach Om. Congratulations!
먼저 제우스 선수 T1을 상대로 승리하고 1시드로 MSI에 진출했습니다.
Zeus, you just beat T1 to secure first seed of MSI. How do you feel? You know, last year we lost against T1. And when we found out that we were going to be against T1 this year, you know, I had even bigger desire to defeat them and make it to the MSI stage. So did you expect to be back in this kind of form? Yeah, I felt like we're in a really good condition team-wide. So honestly, it just felt like we would be able to win with a 3-0 even. But it looks like T1 also was quite resilient today, which made the match a little more difficult. And with T1 playing well lately, what did you watch out for during the prep? I think personally, I wanted to really focus on playing out and doing well during the laning phase so that I can impact the game better. So how satisfied were you with your performance? I think overall, I was pretty happy with my play, and it's just that my teammates did so well. So I think that actually enabled me to do a lot more in the game and opened up a lot more options for me, which is great. And in game 1, you did massive damage on Jace, and with today's win, it extends your streak to 7 straight wins, including LCK rounds 1 and 2. So, did you see the damage charts? How did you feel? I think Jace is just something that I didn't really even think that it was a great pick, but you know, my coaching staff was the one who actually gave me more confidence to go ahead and pick him. So I just tried my best with it, and it feels great. And what is your mindset going into your 4th MSI? Yeah, I've been to MSI multiple times, but I have not been able to win and lift the trophy. So I think, you know, in Korea, obviously, there's a lot of good memories regarding MSI. And I think Kanavi also is the past champion, so I'm really looking forward to it. And of course, Kanavi, with that incredible performance, you defeated T1 and locked in MSI first. So how do you feel? I think even from last year and also for this year, I personally think that T1 was doing really well, but I'm really glad that we're able to get a clean victory today. And the POM was Kanavi. And I'm sure that lots of your fans were moved by your performance. And you were so fierce, yet graceful. So how happy were you with your Game 3 Lee Sin, especially? Yeah, in Game 3. The early game went so well, so, you know, it just felt really fun playing. And during the mid-game, during the skirmish, and all the trades, it just went so smoothly, and that's what really enabled me to do even better. And that Drake steal, that was insane. And in 2023, you were the MSI champion with JDG, so can we expect that again this MSI? Yeah, obviously, as we are the first seed, I want to make sure that we have a great showing, and hopefully we can lead that up to the winning the champion or winning MSI in the end. And what is your mindset? This will be your first international showing with HLE. Yeah, I think for Hana Life Esports, I want to make sure that we're able to be the MSI champion. We will return with a great news, hopefully. And Seka, this is your first ever MSI. Just how long have you been waiting for this moment? Well, first of all, this is going to be my first MSI, you're right. And this is actually the first ever MSI for HLE as well. And it's going to be in Daejeon on top of that. So it's going to be quite meaningful, very special. Yeah, in the standby video before the match, we saw your toast mukbang. So did it hit the spot? Actually, my toast flew away. And yeah, we all saw that too. And I think the moment it flew away, I had a really good feeling about today. It's because it was just simply the crust of the toast that flew away. It's fine. And as the longest standing member of Hana Life Esports, how do you feel about 2026 HLE? I feel like this year, you know, just considering the my teammates' career and my career, I feel like we're all really doing our best to grow as a team together collaboratively. So I'm sure that we're able to lead it all the way up to MSI champions. Is there a team that you want to meet? I think I really want to face and meet Viper in BLG. Any special reason? I think everyone knows the answer to that. And Zeka, you said Daejeon means Hanwha. You'll go to MSI and bring it home for HLE. So as LCK's first seed, you must be aiming high, so please share a word. I want to make sure that we are able to perform well at MSI and bring it back home. Next up, we have Kunma-Yushi. You said you've never not attended MSI. That you would send Hanwha to MSI, and you kept that promise. How do you feel? Well, I would like to say I'm grateful for God for this honor. And last year, when I was here, I think I wanted to make sure that, you know, I could repay my fans with a 3-0 today because of that 3-0 that happened last year. And, you know, I'm really happy that we're able to make it to MSI this year. And you met your former team T1 at a critical crossroads. So was it as expected, pulling out a dramatic win? Yeah, honestly, it was fate, and it was actually quite dramatic. I thought it was pretty inevitable that we would win today. So yeah, so with HLE heading into MSI's first seed, who do you think will join as the second seed? I think it might be probably T1, maybe. And this is your 5th MSI in a row. How incredible. What is your mindset? Yeah, I've been attending quite a lot, but I haven't been able to win yet, so I want to make sure that we're able to win it all with my teammates. Please give it up for Kunma-Yushi. Next up, we have Delight. Delight, the fans are going crazy for you, and you're back to MSI after 3 years. So what does today's win mean to you? I think just being able to make it to MSI with today's win makes me the happiest, and I think just being able to play alongside my teammates who work so hard, you know, it actually brings back all the passion that I have. So that's just really my one take. Despite the 2-week gap after round 2, your play was so sharp. So how did you prep to keep your edge? I think during the practice, I was able to really sharpen up my gameplay and really try to experiment with a lot of champions that we can actually pull out. And that's how your Camille threw off the opponent and those insane game to Renata ults and the 4th game Blitz. So did you save these picks for today? I think as a pro player, you need to be able to play everything without limit. So I think just a little bit of TMI. I think, you know, when the last time we won the championship, you know, I actually remember having a nosebleed, and I actually had a nosebleed today, so I felt really good about it. It was a good sign. And you proved yourself today, so what more do you want to show at MSI? Since 2023, I haven't been able to go, so I really want to make sure that this time around we're am able to win alongside with my teammates. And head coach Ohm, congrats! You brought HLE to their first MSI appearance since franchise, so how do you feel? I just want to say thank you to all my players who did so hard, who worked incredibly hard, and you know, that's why I don't think anyone can criticize me. It's because of my players. They put in their 100%, and you know, I feel like I'm just happy to contribute to today's win. So, if you had to pick a standout performer, who would it be? I just think that the mid-jungle synergy was just incredible. So I think the MVP for myself, it would be the two, our mid and jungle. And lastly, as LCK's first seed, what are your goals heading into MSI? Well, since it's going to be in Daejeon, I'm sure that we'll have to prepare even harder so that we can keep up the momentum and show a great performance.
MSI 2026 일시대 티켓을 거머쥔 하나생명 선수단에게 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Please give it up once again for the LCK first seed, Hana Life Esports. We look forward to seeing you shine in Daejeon. And that is all from Hana Life Esports. And back to the space. Thank you.
And there you have